Podcast number 473. Light 'em up, boys. Deliciousness. I found one of those Lipton iced teas with the peach and all that. Like, oh, man, I can taste the diabetes. Yeah. It's worth the insulin.
Diabetes.
All right. To my immediate left.
Diabetes.
Dan Krapke.
To his immediate left, we have a new voice in the podcast.
Hey everyone, Mark.
To his left.
Steve Sleepy.
And to his left.
Johnny Mac.
And to his left.
Speedy Pete.
And to his left.
Chris Smith.
And behind the bar.
Tom Pennington.
Yeah, it's a podcast. So our friend Bobby Costello, who was here from Atlanta, who was our token visitor a few weeks ago. He's in town working on the Superman movie. He's just a straight dyed-in-the-wool Ducati guy and degenerate motorcycle collector, the whole thing. And when I told him tonight we're going to be talking about all kinds of fun stuff, he was really sad. He couldn't come to last week's podcast on Saturday because they worked him late. They were wrapping up the shoot for Superman, and he couldn't get free. And now he's back in Atlanta. But he's going to be at Mid-Ohio.
Oh, cool.
So that's good.
Hell yeah.
But he was like, he sends his regards and really wishes he was here tonight because he's a specialist of all things vintage Ducati.
Yeah, he was talking about what do you call them?
yeah.
Round cases?
Well, jelly bean tanks and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
I pawned my Kajiva off on him. I was so happy.
He'll probably be trying to pawn that off at Mid-Ohio.
Oh, there you go. Super, super fun stuff. And just a great guy to have around. Tonight, Mark's here, and we're going to be talking about some Ducati stuff and all that fun stuff. A little bit. Sleepy, when did you meet Mark?
Well, I was going to say, Mark is probably, like, out of anybody that I know now,
Right.
probably one of my oldest riding buddies, and just, I knew him from music and stuff, but I think, we started riding back in, like, 92?
Yeah, maybe 94, something like that.
Yeah, back in, like, the Rider for Life days. When I
Oh,
was
the purple hair, fuzzy
swinging
bikes.
around with all the boys, but, like, at the same time, we also like to actually ride. So, like, he was the first guy I ever followed down to, like New Philly and stuff and all those days, and that's when, like, we were all starting to buy full leathers, which I just did again. But anyways, so that was like my introduction to that whole scene and stuff. And so, like, Mark, to me, I always respected Mark as a guy who actually could ride, not just do the dumb shit. And he was always more interested in, like, the mechanics of it, like the reason, like he would take things that he saw with, like, the MotoGP riders, and, like, I'd see his bike and it would have shit like that on it. So, it was just fun times. It was like a really, really, and so last week when I told the story about going back out on the roads and stuff and feeling like I was 20 something again, well, that was him. So Mark was ahead of me that whole time. I was saying, because when I heard your Ducati and we started ripping there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden, I felt like I was 22 again. I'm like, I'm chasing Mark. Like, this is fucking great. It was fun.
Yeah.
And Mark, did you work for Doc?
Doc?
For Ducati, Northern Ohio Ducati?
I did. So I started, my Ducati life mechanically started at Cleveland Akron Honda.
Cleveland Akron Honda.
Yeah,
Right.
and then after that,
Or the European connection.
Yeah, the European connection.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's how you can tell how old we are.
Yeah, right. Which I preferred over Ohio motorcycle, but
Me too.
hey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I bought the GB 500 that was hanging out there forever.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very, for a little while it was eclectic, right? The Saturday morning crew would show up, and it was really it
was great.
It was the first thing in our area we had like that, right? Before that, we went to Hines, right? You had to go further, or we went to Aspinwall,
Right.
Pennsylvania.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
but we had nothing like that in our area.
When it was the European connection, it was kind of the high water mark for people in this area that had odd bikes.
Yeah.
So if you had a BMW, you had a Triumph, you had a Moto Guzzi, you had a Ducati, that was where you'd go.
Yep.
And that was a real good Saturday morning get together.
Yeah.
And because it was local to us, we all could get there. It was real easy. It's just central to everybody. Good morning out, man.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
And I see how you guys come in, and I'd have to work.
Yeah, you were always
all day
working.
Saturday.
You never got to go play.
Yeah, I was like, bye.
Yeah,
bye.
and that was just
I'll be
basically
here.
And it was funny because the group would either do Metro Parks tour, right, or we'd run South Amish country kind of thing, run up to Nelson's Ledges several times. So that was a fun group to ride with. That was a good group all the time. And it was funny to watch that. So that's a landscaping company now that's kind of in that building.
Yeah.
But that building was specifically built to be a motorcycle dealership.
Absolutely.
And it had that perfect layout. Everything about it was like, it was a very cool layout for going to a motorcycle dealership.
Yeah, yeah. The wall in our shop was a knockdown wall.
Mm-hmm.
They would always say that when we expand, this wall will come down very. And I always waited. I'm like, one day we're going to expand. And unfortunately,
Yeah. That was that shop, when that shop went out of business.
2013.
Yep. We had a number of customers that gave us a call and said, hey, my bike is in that building.
Yeah, yeah,
And I can't get it out.
yeah.
The sheriff put a chain around the door.
You told him about the knockdown wall.
Yeah, yeah, right. Could have pulled it down with a one of the landscaping, right?
And there were a lot of bikes in the service department that were being kind of held hostage.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And so I kept getting these phone calls because we had, mutual customers.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I know everybody there and nobody's evil.
Yeah.
They're all nice people.
No.
And I made the phone call and I said, hey, what's it take for me to come on over and liberate these bikes? And they're like, just show up, man.
Yeah.
Just show up.
Yeah, that was it.
And they were like, we'll meet you there at whatever time you show up. We'll open the doors and you get the customers' bikes out of there. And so that era, that 2013, when that happened, we picked up a fleet of bikes.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things where the customers couldn't go in and grab their bikes on their own. But I was in a position with the trailer and the truck, I could just go in and grab them and pull them out, and we just wrap up the services and everything. When that company went out of business, it wasn't something that they had 3 or 4 or 5 months notice on.
No, I was there.
You were there.
I was there. I was working part-time.
Yeah.
I came back because I was the Ducati guy, but I was going back to school for a relevant, completely different career change, right? And it was a Saturday morning, so I was just picking up some extra money, working on all the Ducati stuff. And we walk in, and there's a note on the window, and we're all in the parking lot. All the employees were looking at each other, and we're like, "What is going on?" And we're like, "All right." So we open it because it's like we're closing indefinitely, and we never even talked about it.
Right.
We never even talked about it. The last thing we talked about. If you need to edit some of this out, I don't know. I don't want to incriminate myself. Yeah. But the last things
statute of limitations on motorcycle shops as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So the last things we talked about were like, hey, maybe we're not going to do Ducati anymore because Ducati's very difficult. They want us to spend this much money, and they want to really be boutique shops, and they don't want anybody else like Honda and right.
Oh yeah.
So maybe we won't do that, but could you just stick around and help us through the And I was like, absolutely, I'll help you guys through the transition. I'd rather see you stay in business than trying to be, hold on to a manufacturer that it's too hard for you to make it, right?
Yep.
And then literally the next day, it was probably 2 days in reality, but literally the next day, which was Saturday, we all show up in the parking lot and that note's on the door, and we're like, what do we do? Because it's to the customer, so we go in. We make the phone call. Yeah, guys, don't open. Don't do anything. Just keep the lights off. If people knock on the door, just, we'll talk about it next week. And that was it.
God.
We never, and I wasn't a part of the liquidation process.
You're unemployed.
Yeah, but that was it. That was it. And it was really strange because
did they ever give you your final paycheck?
Yeah, it wasn't like that. The owner was an above board kind of person.
I completely agree. And I worked with him for years.
Yeah.
100% agree. There was nothing shady about that.
No, not at all. It was just very strange. And then we were all like, what could have happened that could have led to something like this, right?
Yeah.
But a few people stuck around and liquidated and helped him, and a couple months before that, he was like, I'd really love to see you have this place. Yeah. Would you be interested? Right. And I'm like, our tax brackets are completely different. I don't, especially at that time.
I know.
At that time, I was like, I'm not even in this league. How would I do this? And I guess if somebody were coming in and say, look, we'll transition this whole thing out. I'll help you get there. It would have been a great idea, but 2008, it was after 2008, everybody was afraid.
Everyone was broke.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And nobody had fully recovered yet from 2008.
Right.
When we got the notification through a customer that the doors were locked on Saturday, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Because I've got a lot of history with that shop too. And I was like, this is really strange. Keep in mind, we had an Indian dealership that closed in Willoughby the same way. The doors, there was a chain around the door one morning. Good luck, you're closed. And
isn't that a Mexican restaurant now?
What is it?
There was the one in Willoughby on Bishop Road, and then there was the one in Sheffield Lake or whatever. Those two Indian dealers, they were both part of the same family. They both kind of closed on the same day, and they closed the same way, chain around the door. I hope you didn't like your bike too much, because I know it was in for an oil change, but you might never see it again. And so I went in a week after they did that. And I went in a week after they did that, and that's when I found out that the company that owned the building, because they were tenants, right? And so the company that owned the building said, hey, we need a new tenant. And I was like, you had a really good one. And I took a tour of the shop, and they were like, well, I said, well, I would be somewhat interested in buying the building, but I'm not interested in being your tenant. And the number they had floated out to me to buy the building was so astronomically out of control.
Yeah.
It was just pure fantasy, like 1.1 million or something. And I just said, it's a perfect motorcycle shop. It truly is. Giant doors roll out, beautiful lawn that all the freeway can see when they drive past. You can put bikes out there. Everybody can see them. It really was a fantastic facility. The downside was the people who built that facility never said, oh, we're going to own it as a motorcycle shop. They said, no, we're building it so we can lease it to people as a motorcycle shop. We can rent it to people as a motorcycle shop. And then they just continued to abuse that motorcycle shop over and over and over again, raising the rent, raising the rent, raising the rent. And it just got to the point where it's predatory.
Yeah.
And when I talked to the guy that was the building owner, I was like, you're just out of your damn mind. There's no way that my shop, where we were at that point, one of the few shops that survived 2010, and we were geared up and we were rolling strong in 2013. We just signed Guzzi. We had Enfield. Ducati was courting us. We had a lot of shit going on, and we could have made it happen. But I needed a 10 or 12, 13,000 foot building. I couldn't do it when we were around the corner in Lakewood in a building that was 2,500 square feet on its best day.
Right.
And my Mentor facility was great. It was 12,000 square feet, but there was just no way I could have put Ducati in there. And I talked to the owner there, and I was like, so let's go have lunch. And he's like, do not rent from these guys. And I went, okay, thank you. Enough said. Good, great. And then it turns out they lost their ass too, and they ended up getting foreclosed on and sold the building. And I went to look at the building after it had been foreclosed on, and the landscaping company bought it. They went in there and got a hold of that. Great location, great property, cool building, super fun.
Yeah.
But ultimately, not in the cards for any of us. Which I'm very happy, because now, hindsight being 2020, we didn't hang on to Guzzi. That didn't last forever. We didn't hang on to Royal Enfield. That didn't last forever. And I would have been a guy with way too much space. We'd have been flying drones in that building. It wasn't the kind of place where my shop would fit well in there. We would have, when I have too much space, I buy too much stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So that just would have been more dumb shit.
Yeah.
One of the more interesting advancements for your shop is that they repaved that nice little road that goes down into the Metro Park behind the hospital.
And it's finally beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's now the best. It used to be the world's worst road. Old Lorraine Road was tragic and dangerous.
Yeah.
And now it's like
But close to the emergency department.
Extremely close to the emergency department. They could just bring you up with a winch.
You got to be careful going either up or down that, though, because people...
They're always left of center.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. They're always using all the road.
Yep.
If that road were 2 miles longer, it'd be the greatest road in America. But the fact that it's only a half mile long or a quarter mile long makes it just like a taste, just a little sample.
It's very nice now.
I love
It
coming
is
uphill
nice.
there on the Monkey because
It
it's
is.
just enough power to
Climb the hill.
rip up it. Yeah.
We have that Hogsback, and we have Hogsback and Old Lorraine, which are just these two little roads we have in our neighborhood that if you're like, I just need something twisty, just go do those two roads 20 times. And you're like, okay, all right, I feel good. Feel good now. That's all right. That's cool. So that's great. So you worked that time working for Ducati, right?
Yeah.
And then did you work for Ducati after that, after 2013?
That was it. That was my
was done.
official retirement.
Yeah,
So
all right.
I did almost 20 years in the industry, and
Yeah.
then
How long were you in Texas?
6 years.
And who were you with in Texas?
There was a shop in San Antonio. At the time, it was called KC International. Tons of history behind that.
Yeah.
That was literally one of Ducati's first investment shops.
Really?
So they gave a certain amount of money. I remember being at the dealer meeting in 2003 for the 999, the 999.
Yep.
In California, and there was this group of dealers that were flipping out rumor has it that Ducati is giving people money to start dealerships, and we're talking $250,000 money, right? And I was like, that's so a lot of people were.
It's the opposite of the way it normally works.
Yeah. And that happened to be one of them.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Any questions you have, we can talk about.
Well, and AF1 Racing, historically
Racing,
speaking, AF1 Racing also participated in that program.
Yeah. For Aprilia, right?
Yep, for Aprilia. And you talk about like what a change of identity that was.
Yeah.
And it became a signature store for them.
Yeah.
So AF1 Racing with Aprilia became this destination. So if it was Aprilia in the United States, well, you were going to be dealing with Tovas over at at Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
And same with KC. So for Ducati, it's a big deal. It wasn't just Britney Spears and Pepsi Cola money at that point. Texas Pacific Group and all those iterations of Ducati that happened then.
Yeah.
There was a lot of weird shit going on for a while.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Can you imagine that? Somebody says, hey, we're going to give you $250,000.
I'll take it.
Instead of what the program is today is you need to give us $100K for clothing. Mm-hmm. You need to give us $50K for signs that we're going to change our mind on in 3 years and ask you for $50K more. We're going to demand $40K for diagnostics and training and everything else. You're $500,000 in and you haven't sold a bike yet. And the margins suck.
And that's the 1 year.
That's
you got the next season coming
year.
too.
Yeah,
right?
That's 1 year. And if you're even like moderate market, like second tier, third tier market like we are, you're signing for 36 to 60 bikes in that first year.
Oh yeah.
And you're a virgin territory.
Yeah.
Or worse yet, you're cleaning up for a guy that's been there for 10 or 15 years, and he left a giant sucking sound when he closed. So now you got, let's just say, conservatively, 250 people who own Ducatis that haven't had service for 2 or 3 years. And they're banging on your door hard for warranty issues that haven't been taken care of for a very long time. You never realize how much money you lose doing warranty work when you're literally stepping on $10 bills to pick up dimes. And if you think your shop's billing out $120 an hour, you might be lucky to be getting paid 80 or 90 from the manufacturer for your warranty hours. And you might have $6 hours invested in a job and get paid for 2 of those. Because you're doing what? Diagnostic and troubleshooting. And if it's broken, you might have to do a lot of diagnostic and troubleshooting, depending on what the vehicle is. So, yeah, it can be very, very costly to start.
Because the warranty's only going to pay you to fix what was actually wrong.
Yeah.
You have to figure all that out before you file the warranty claim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's
absolutely.
very, very rare. There was, because I was in the 90s with Ducati in the early days as well, right? Yep. And it was rare. It was a little bit of a different group of service reps and stuff like that. It was very, I don't want to say family oriented, but everybody was close.
Were they in Atlanta?
Right, they kind of had you right. They were, well, this were the days when it was in New Jersey.
Oh, it was in Jersey.
Yeah,
okay,
it was in Jersey.
Yeah,
so I would go out there and visit Fast by Ferracci and then do my schooling and training at Ducati.
Yep.
And then they moved to California, Cupertino, right?
Cupertino,
they had some of the old Apple offices, right?
Sick.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but literally, you walk in New Jersey. It was so small. You walk in. There's a super mono at the front door, parked on a stand. And then you walk in, and you'd shake everybody's hand, and everybody was real cool. And it was like this. Oh, now you're a part of this, and we're all striving to make sure these bikes are taken care of because there's 4 of them in your area out
Welcome
there.
to Ducati Island.
Yeah, it was very early days, right? The logo was just changing. It was Texas Pacific Group had 51% and Cagiva had the rest, right? Yep. Very, very early days. And, it was almost like there was a hand on your shoulder if you got and I've got stories about it, right? 4-day diagnostics with CO, hydrocarbons to the roof, couldn't get the thing, throttle body, cylinder, like anything you could imagine. And the whole time they're like, we trust what you're doing, you'll get it, you'll figure it out.
That kind of support is very rare.
Very rare, yeah.
Really rare. And it's magical.
Yeah.
In your opinion, from that era, when you were working, do you have a Head and Shoulders favorite? Like, do you like a 2-valve 1000? Like, what's your favorite Ducati motor of that era?
Desmo Quattro,
right?
For sure,
Desmo Quattro,
because it was like that 916. That bike was the bike that I dreamt about before I even knew it existed, right? I was the kid that I still have it on my shelf and I keep it.
Yeah.
You know, and it literally has more stains than an adult magazine for a young boy, right?
Right.
It's a Lamborghini Countach book, and I must have read that thing cover to cover.
Oh, really?
5,000 times, and I obsessed. And still to this day, that car does something to me,
course.
right?
Yeah.
There wasn't a bike yet. And I remember getting my first sport bike and going, and somebody's like, you know, that's what you really need. And I go, and I look over, and it was in Mentor, right? And I was looking at, in my mind, I thought all sport bikes were this narrow and nice little race bikes and everything.
Right.
And then I got out there and I saw the Kawasaki's, the Suzuki's, and everything was this wide, right?
Yeah, slab sides, giant bull bore shit.
Yeah. And a friend of the family who you know, sadly had a heart attack a few years later when I was growing up, but he was always the car bike guy, you know? And he's like, that's what you really need over there. And it was my father, him, and I, and we're looking at bikes, and I go, and it was that Countach moment. But it was a 916.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what the I don't know, can you swear?
No, you can swear.
Oh, yeah.
What the fuck is that
What
thing?
color was it?
It was red.
Yeah.
It was all red. It was before the white
It was
number
red
plate.
frame,
It was
right,
red front
red
back,
frame,
and it was
red
a
everything.
monoposto because the UK people got the bipostos. We only got four of them,
right.
but we got monopostos
That's
in this
right.
country with the Olin's rear shock, right? And it was a 95, and I saw that thing, and I was like, Jesus Christ. That's everything my child imagination had, and I'm a teenager at this point, but about what a sport bike, a super bike should look like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Whoever designed that, and we know who designed it, but whoever designed that was like, could reach into your childhood brain and depict what a bike would look like. And that's what, to me, my era,
But not only a kid,
was a 916.
but an adult can look at it and see the sensuality of it.
Yeah.
Like they've nailed it so that everybody from 5 to like 100 is like,
Well, first of all,
yeah.
not just function, because we know function. That's fine. You know, there's entire rule books got changed because of that motorcycle.
Yeah.
Right? It's true. I mean, that's absolutely
There's
true.
a whole
doubt.
German motorcycle company that has buttoned down the function side of things.
Yeah, right, exactly. Right. Not big in the art. Function.
They have their
check.
moments, right? No.
Is this function? Yes, it has this function. Explain form.
I like my own car. I think it's a cute
We
little
had
car.
an entire discussion about the R1200C.
Right, exactly.
That's what came to mind.
Don't let the Germans do form.
Right.
Ever.
Let's circle back to last week. Is beauty. Only beauty is function.
The term they call that is Teutonic beauty.
That's right.
Which means built wide and low to the ground for farming. So she was a bit of a Teutonic beauty.
It'll never let you down.
We'll never let you down. But that 916, right? When I saw that bike, right? Because to me there was, I'm a little older, right? So I remember the Paso. Right? And I remember these plastic bikes that you couldn't see any moving parts, you couldn't see any motor, you couldn't see anything.
The Testarossa Ducatis, yes.
Right, the Testarossa Ducatis, et cetera, the Honda Pacific Coast Ducatis, whatever. And so I kind of grew up in that era where Ducati was like, well, they make ignition modules, but apparently they also do some motorcycles too, right? Yeah. And so then their sport bikes were fucking weird, you know, and they were odd, but you're right. The 916 came out, and all of a sudden, I went into that exact same showroom in Mentor.
Yeah.
And I remember like it was yesterday going in there and seeing those bikes.
Can we bring up a 919 just for...
We can? Oh, yeah. Well, 916.
916.
I'm sorry.
I think 916 is probably
Well,
where we want to
Yeah,
go.
919 was the...
The Honda.
I mean, like,
Sorry.
And the
Sorry.
That's just me.
was that
There's a lot of numbers.
Was that the
I see what
start?
you tried to do there, John.
subliminal?
Was that the first bike to have almost like the headlights were like molded into the plastic? Because before that, a lot of the bike, like the headlights were like either round thing, you know, like the doubles or the same.
Yeah.
Wasn't the 916?
From a technical point, they were separate, but it was like it was one.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It was like it
part
was
of
one.
the plastic.
They were all just
like-
square because like the
Yeah.
851 and stuff
Yeah.
before that, they were all just really square.
That's what I'm
Yep.
saying. Like it looked like it was part of the plastic, but a headlight.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember that standing out to me as being like, wow, that's pretty sexy.
It was the element of it that was so crazy was compared to the Super Sport, you know, which came before it.
Yeah.
The Super Sport was extraordinarily trellised out, right? So for lack of a better term, you'd see a Super Sport and you could just see all this architecture. You could see all this scaffolding,
Yeah.
right, with the Super Sport. And then when is that a Tamburini or a Treblanche?
That's Tamburini.
Massimo Tamburini.
That's
yeah.
Tamburini, right?
Yeah.
And so Tamburini, everything looks like a lady. There's hips, there's tits, right? There's all the ladies' parts in that motorcycle. And that's always been that thing about if you want to have a visceral experience from a young fella.
It looks like that tank would eviscerate my testicles.
Well, so you
They're
guys
not comfortable.
You guys remember not that long ago we had in our podcast.
The only person who could sit on it was Oscar.
Where we brought in a 1000. We brought, I think it was a 1000 Super Sport. Yeah,
800. No.
I can't recall now. Maybe a 900. It doesn't really matter.
Bill
But
Sparker.
whatever.
yeah, but it's all the same thing. Ducati approaches the gas tank area as a 90-degree angle from the base of the gas tank where your testicles hit it to the point where your chest is, usually damn near perfectly vertical. And even if you go back into the 80s and 90s with their bikes, they were actually negative angles. So you could see the point where your dick would go, the gas tank would come back at you. So there is no human being that actually was cut the right way to fit on a Ducati, but they didn't care because you got to get the motorcycle around the track. The rider will get there eventually, right? Beautiful bike. I mean,
But-
just fucking gorgeous. Gold rims, all the stuff.
So, Mark,
all the
your
Brembos.
love for Ducatis, what did they finally take you to the thing that all of us were like, oh my God, you did what? When you bought that fucking super bike?
Oh, that's I don't. I was it was an obsession, right? Because so in that year '95, I didn't buy that bike. I couldn't afford that bike. I bought a ZX7, right?
That's how we
Kawasaki
I think that's how we
ZX7.
first met, because I was a ZX7
Yeah,
fanatic.
pearl purplish black mica.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh,
yeah,
there you go.
Great
Yeah.
color and all of that, but you know, that was the girl. That was the trophy one day.
Yeah.
So you know. Let me know when to be quiet anytime.
You just fire
I don't
away,
wanna
my
keep-
friend.
They hear us drone all the time.
This can be your whole podcast.
There you go,
man, you're
right?
good.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job.
I'm never coming back. So I had ZX7. I still always wanted. Still lusted after that bike, right?
Ben
and
Bonster
then
and all them dudes fucking riding.
what am I? 16, 17 years old at the time. Probably no, about 18, going on 18, and stupid speeding tickets, not from motorcycles, but from driving my car at a 32 and a 25, right? You're not paying attention, and then before you know it, I lose my driver's license. You get the SR22 or whatever
Yeah.
it is, and nothing, no DUIs, nothing like that. It was just stupid speeding, or coming home at 4 a.m. and like nobody's looking. I'm not going to quite stop at the stop sign, and then there's somebody just waiting. And
Where were you
what
doing
kind of
all
luck?
this?
What kind of luck? You know the heights, right? It was
I do
like
know the heights.
at the time, not anymore.
And
But at
Cleveland-
the time,
Sergeant Barnard was sitting there waiting for
yeah,
you.
it was
Big
always
old Leroy.
there was everybody get pulled over in those areas during those years. Nowadays, nobody does. It's a racetrack, but but so needless to say, regardless, I still wanted that bike, and we talked about the dealership in Aspinwall. So I went there, and they had a 916, and that was at the time when you had to wait 4 months, and maybe you got one, maybe you didn't get one. They were only bringing so many into the country. So I went there and I took my ZX7, I put it on their floor, and that was going to be the down payment, and we ordered the bike, and it came in, right? So the bike comes in, and this is 97 now. The bike comes in, and I go, great. Oh my God, I'm shaking. I got a book. I'm looking at this book every day, the same way I looked at the Lamborghini book. Guys at work were like, and this time I'm working on cars. I haven't even entered the, motorcycle world yet. I'm still working on cars, and the guys thought I was crazy at work. For every 5 seconds I'm pulling out this book and I'm looking at this book of this bike. I'm like, that's going to be in my garage one day. It's on its way. And they go, the bike's here, and I go, great. I'm going to call my insurance company and get the insurance, right?
Yep.
No way.
Yep.
The best price at the time was $10,000 a year. Oh! $10,000 a year. And it was like, no way, it's not going to happen.
That bike's on Bring a Trailer. It's $8,900.
Yep.
Yeah, so the engine cases are different on the older ones, right? That's the one that still has the center stand bosses on the engine cases. They're not quite as strong
Right.
as the 996 in the later years, but it's still a great bike, especially if you're not racing it, right?
So you couldn't afford the insurance, but you'd already dropped your bike off as a trade-in.
Absolutely, it's gone.
How do they deal
So
with
what do
that?
you do? So they get the down payment, they keep it, even though the bike was already sold. They don't keep my bike.
Yeah.
I get paid for whatever they sold the ZX7 on consignment for, which was a good price back
Yeah.
then. But they kept, I don't know, a couple $100 down payment. I lost that. So what does one do that's infatuated with this Ducati V twin they're going to get?
You buy an SV650.
I bought the next thing, a TL1000S. Right? In 97,
or a Super Hawk.
in 97, the most chaotic bike you could put, because the fuel injection, they had no idea yet. Suzuki had no idea yet what they were doing with fuel injection.
They
This
had no
radical
idea.
twin, the thing was literally like riding a mechanical bull 100% of the time.
And it's red.
Yeah, and it was red.
And it was
right?
red.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's red. So what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
First year, Suzuki fuel injection,
Yep.
built only to spank Ducati in a class
That's
that
it.
was built for it.
That's it.
Right? That's
Yeah.
the only reason that
Yeah.
Suzuki built a motorcycle.
Yep.
Let's
Right there.
let's not say that it was because they needed a sport tour. Let's not say that it's because they needed a 1000cc V twin. No. They built a bike because Ducati had a class created for them.
Yeah.
Tell the folks about what curious advantage Ducati had among the rest of the other multi-cylindered motorcycles because of them coming and showing up with a 90 or 120 degree V twin. Because they had a certain CC advantage they were allowed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quite
so
a
so when everybody was 750, they were 916, right?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
convenient.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Again, you don't have to have the best 750 when you're allowed to have almost 200 cc's more. That's pretty cool.
With
That's
two less
pretty neat.
cylinders, by the way.
With two less cylinders, exactly.
Yeah.
But they were big.
Right, they were so big, right? And it changed the whole game.
It almost sounds like Sounds of Thunder.
Well, bots and everything else, and all those things that we all grew up with and kind of lived through. Now, you bought a TL1000S.
Yep.
Now, compared to the $10,000 a year insurance price,
How much was your?
I think it was 2,500.
Yeah,
at that
right,
time.
yeah.
So it was, yeah.
Is it
It was still
like,
pretty bad, but
Is it still?
all
is
I
it-
cared about was
Is
bikes.
it like that for kids now?
Yeah, it
Is
is.
it? Because I forgot, but like
Yeah.
I remember that. Like so many bikes I wanted. I wanted the Gixxer 1100. I could never get it because I called. Same thing. They were like $6,000.
We don't have stepped licensing, we have stepped insurance.
Yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah, Mark, what was the difference in 95, 97? What was the difference in price between the brand new Ducati 916 and the TL1000S?
I think the 916 and 97 was about 14.9, maybe 15.2, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yep.
And the TL,
I think it was $79.99.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was $79.99.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, if I remember
half
correctly.
price.
Yeah.
It was literally half price.
Yeah. Yeah, but all the Japanese bikes, as good as they were the 916 was a whole different world with
course.
pricing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the thing is,
Yeah.
that was my era when if you opened up my wall hucker,
Yeah.
I had a picture of a VTR 1000 Super Hawk.
Yeah.
Right? Because you went the Suzuki route.
Yeah.
I went the Honda route.
Yeah.
You went with the fuel injected. I went with the world's least efficient carburetor. Right? And you'd crack the throttle and birds would fall out of the trees and, you'd get about 17 miles per gallon. But that's because I knew I couldn't step up to the Ducati table.
Yeah.
There was no way. So I was just waiting for the price of Super Hawks to come down into my territory. And at about 2003 or 2004, when I got that red one, that was when I was kind of like, look at this. I just got my dream bike because time. I waited it out. And now those 916s, well, they've become somewhat affordable.
Yeah.
But you have to know something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but the frame's going to crack right behind
Absolutely.
the down tube.
Well, also, let's talk about that for people. Our podcast historically has been, we're not going to talk about the cutting edge exotica that nobody can afford.
Yeah.
What we're talking about our podcast is usually motorcycles that fellas can afford.
Yeah.
But maybe when somebody says, well, you know what, that Ducati, S1000P is finally $2,500.
The monsters, dude. They're
The
cheap.
monsters, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, but maybe, hold on. Maybe even though the value of that bike has dropped enough to this point, let's talk about some maintenance costs that maybe a person might not really be ready for in a 1997 or so Ducati. And because Ducatis used to have a very bad reputation for a very, very aggressive service interval. And now they opened that up in the 2015s and 2016s. They changed a lot of things in the bike to make it a little less violent on your wallet. But
It's a whole different world now.
Now-
too. Some of the bikes are getting better valve adjustment intervals than their counterparts.
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But I can promise you that back in this era,
Oh, back in this area, right?
Right.
I was in the era where it was recommended to do valve adjustments every 4,000 miles, and some bikes
Which is-
I had to pull drop
which is an
engines,
oil
right?
change.
Yeah,
And the motor's got to come
yeah,
out.
yeah,
And imagine being a 21 or 22-year-old person
Yeah.
that is no motorcycle experience.
Yeah, no.
And somebody tells you
Yeah.
that, well, your oil change is going to be 3,000. That's not going to be a big deal. However, 1,000 later, you have a non-optional valve adjustment. And you know from your training, if you want to do it right, we're going to drop that motor.
Yeah.
We're going to lower that engine.
just to get to stuff.
Just to get
depending
to
on
stuff.
depending on the bike.
Right.
Absolutely depending on the bike.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a lot to ask somebody. You may have enough money to buy the bike, but you may not have enough dedication to own it, to keep it. And Ducati was, in that era especially, that very razor's edge performance came at a very high price. Did you ever do any track days or any so when did you finally get the Ducati? Because you had the TL1000S.
Yeah, I've had many since then.
Right.
It just came from there. But
Right.
but so the TL1000S, spent a year with that, did everything I could to try to make it, And a little side note that I always thought the Superhawk was a better looking bike than the TL. I mean, the TL was bulbous, it was too round, it was, it was fuel injected, it was, the things that I was attracted to. I've always been really attracted to technology.
Absolutely.
Myself,
Yep.
Yes, I've cut my teeth on carburetors, everything from automotive to motorcycles, hundreds and hundreds of carb cleans.
Yep.
When I was spending my first years in '94 at Krieger Motorsports and stuff like that.
Oh, you were at Krieger too?
The guy that did everything,
Yeah.
I have nightmares, right? Getting the carbs out of GS 1000s,
Yep.
and the guy that did all of that work was me,
Yep.
because I was the low guy, right?
Low guy in the town, total
Nobody wanted to touch the stuff anymore. I made great friends with reps from Suzuki. Almost potentially went to like Yoshimura and went that far, and then the Ducati bug bit me. But I thought so anyway. So I'm not oblivious to old technology. I've just always been very intrigued by technology moving forward, right?
Oh yeah.
So I had that TL for about a year, and then so it was 98. I'm coming home and we were seasonal, so I would be at Krieger Motorsports in the summer and then State 8 in the wintertime, something like that, right?
I applied
Or
at
helping some
Krieger.
friends out.
What's that?
I almost got a job at Krieger.
Did you almost get a job?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
How many years were you at Krieger?
94, 5, 6, and 7 on and off.
On and off.
Around those
97,
years. Around those
98
years.
might have been about when I
When you applied?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I can't do it. No.
Yeah.
It was too far of a drive for me, and I was like, they were going to start me out at like $10 an hour.
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
uncrating bikes and stuff. I'm like, I can make more money doing something else.
Yeah, it was a rough industry,
it was.
It's still, I mean, it always has been, unfortunately.
And they were also a dealership that did a lot of weird auto leasing stuff. So
Yeah.
Because it was
Yeah.
on the auto mile there, like the
Yeah.
whole.
that was just Broadway.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a part of the same building.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. I worked with the owner there for a little
Yeah.
while on a couple of different
Was
projects.
there like
Yeah.
an Asian
Yeah.
guy that was a salesman or something like that? That's who I talked with when I was there. I don't know.
Was that there was an Asian guy, Miz or Maz?
Yeah, it might
that was
have
an Asian guy that was a salesperson there for a while.
I think that's who I,
Yeah.
I talked with him when I was there.
You're right. Yeah, it's very funny. It's that was an interesting
Yes.
shop.
Yeah,
it was a weird
absolutely.
shop.
Yeah.
And
And the owner was he was an absolutely, as far as a human being goes, absolutely genuine human
totally
being.
gung ho.
Yeah, absolutely. We had
100%
great
gung-ho.
summer parties and
Yep.
would go out on their boats and get to take jet skis out. And he would have given you anything,
Absolutely.
even though the pay was, whatever, and and it was flat rates, and you were barely, but as a young teenager, I left
great.
the automotive world, and that's a story in itself, how I even got a job in the motorcycle world I just had to lie. And that's all I did was like, I've been working on motorcycles for years, and I hadn't. I just worked on friends' bikes in the backyards, and I worked on cars every day. And I remember, I was lucky enough, I don't know if you remember, why can't I remember his name? He was at Kroll. He cut his teeth at Kroll. Very well known.
Ronnie Kroll?
Very well known. He was a drag racer too, right?
Yeah. Well, the whole Kroll family.
Not Jan.
Busher?
No, it was like a 3-letter. I feel so bad if he's ever listened to this podcast.
Okay.
It's no, because he literally is the person I think of as my mentor, because would come over.
Yeah, because he's running the naturally aspirated Suzuki's.
Yeah. And he was
that Dave guy?
No, he was. He may have been Asian.
Oh,
That's exactly who I'm thinking of. And
Tall.
He's very
and I think
tall.
he ended up
Asian
being.
guy.
I think he ended up being
and
a
that's
rep
why I
for
thought
Honda
it was Maz or
years
Miz
later.
or like a 3-letter name.
Yeah.
Anyway, oh man.
Wow, I'm really apologize.
No, and
if you're listening
I'm
to
in
the
the exact
podcast,
same spot.
yeah, I feel awful.
Our
because,
forgiveness is it was
Yeah.
30 years ago.
yeah, well, in my brain these days, it's like, it's awful.
That was many beers ago.
It's awful.
80 and many beers ago. But I cannot, for the life of me, I cannot remember. I remember Ron, I remember his wife, I remember the whole family at Kroll Cycles, but I don't remember that guy because he was at Kroll and he was at Krieger.
Yeah, he went to Krieger, and I think years later I saw him at one of the dealer shows, and he was, I think, repping for Honda potentially.
Oh, really?
Maybe
That makes sense.
something like that.
Yep.
But the guy, like a total mentor.
Yep.
Very
'Cause
nice.
They were
very
at Dragway
approachable.
42. They were at Thompson
Yeah.
Drag Speedways
Yeah.
constantly, and very, very much a fixture in our scene.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that was a weird time because there was a lot of urban bike clubs that were coming up. Hayabusas were starting to become on the street, and you could see them. And Krieger had a reputation for being the place where if you could write the check, you could leave the parking lot
Yeah.
on a Hayabusa.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that wall's got a few paint stripes on it. That brick wall has got some paint marks on it from guys that came in and said, "Give me that Busa." And I remember those days. It was kind of wacky there. That's cool.
Yeah.
But that's really neat.
Were you at Cleveland Akron when you got? I remember you getting that.
No, that's how I got. So I had the TL. I'm riding home one day from Scott's Road Gear, which was inside State 8 motorcycle, right? And and I'm riding home one day on the TL or driving. I can't remember exactly, but I see the new Ducati dealership, and I go, oh wow, it hit me. I'm like, I'm gonna pull in the parking lot. I've got some time to kill. There it is, 98 916 with the white number plate, like all the stuff. And I'm just drooling. I'm absolutely drooling. And a guy named Chris Peterman, who, incredible, oddly enough, I think he's with ClevelandMoto now. I saw a video. I saw a video the other day, and they're like, and he's talking, and I'm like, I know Chris.
I know that guy.
I know Chris. So he comes, he comes walking over, and ended up working with him, years later. And he comes walking over, and I said, if you can get me insured, I will buy this bike.
The 918?
That's all I said. It was, 916.
916
right?
SPS. Right?
Yeah, it wasn't an SPS. No. It was so the SPS. I had an SPS years later, but
you did?
You couldn't get an SPS titled supposedly.
Yeah, that was
and
supposed
they
to
were
be
very
track
expensive.
only.
Yeah, track only, and they didn't come with headlights. Mine never came with headlights. I had to order all this. So
again, it's a good motorcycle, and you got to spend $1,500 on a lighting kit.
Yeah, absolutely. And take and roll the dice at the title that when you go to the DMV that the person doesn't see for track use only.
Track use only.
Yeah, roll the dice.
I don't know how many of those you brought into America, but it wasn't damn many.
Oh no! And I had one of the last ones, one of the last editions. So, he calls the next day and he goes, "Here's your insurance rate." And I go, "Done." So
Nice.
TL was gone. 916. Riding the thing home from there, it was all for me because I was riding motorcycles now for a while.
Yeah.
But I'm riding home the whole time, and I'm looking over my shoulder like this.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's fucking crazy. There's nothing holding that wheel on.
There's nothing holding that wheel on, baby.
That's all I could think the whole way home.
Giant 32 millimeter nut.
Yeah.
One giant nut and one clip.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. It's super cool, and I mean, and that's one of those motorcycles too, where, it wasn't a street bike, man.
No,
it was a track bike.
It was your ass was always on fire.
Yep.
But there was just something. It absolutely had a soul.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember. just the little quirkiness of it at times, and that was pretty much the mantra. Just that's it, because it's got a soul. It's got a soul, And that was it. But I was so stunned by it, and I worked on every bike at this point, except for one of those, that everything was held on with Zeus fasteners. Yep. And at the time, I was afraid to even take the bodywork off, right? But I knew me at the time, and I got into fixing stuff because I didn't want anybody touching my stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
So I had to take it back to the dealer for the first service. And at that time, they're like, hey, you're over at Krieger, why don't you come work for us?
Absolutely.
So it was a natural progression into that, and then years later, of course, I could have that bike apart in less than 40 minutes and hand you the frame and be like, here you go. That's how efficient I got to,
Well, you were in the right environment, honestly. Getting away from Krieger and getting over to Eurocycles, getting over to European Connection, was the best thing that ever could have possibly happened to you.
Absolutely,
Because
absolutely.
the dynamic changes dramatically. With Suzuki products, it's always a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
So this is insider baseball shit, but Suzuki doesn't ever hold pricing. So Suzuki says, you're a dealer, Pete, you've got 62 Suzukis, and Chris has got 62 Suzukis. We're not going to tell you guys that you need to maintain a certain MSRP. You have them. I don't care what you do. Good luck, boys. Let the best man win. And there's no honor. There's no dignity. There's no rules. So if Pete wants to sell his for $2,000 off, but make the money back by charging you gap insurance and extended warranty programs and everything else, that's how Pete's going to sell his. He's going to sell them at list price and advertise at list price. And maybe Chris's tactic is he's going to use a revolving credit card on his so that you can pay for half the bike up front, but they're going to go revolving credit card and just get like a helmet and gloves and jackets that you'll never be able to pay off over the course of your life at 23% interest, right? And whereas the European brands at the time were trying to hold this so that every dealer in the country had to say, we are promising that even if we start losing our ass, we're not going to give the bikes away, because that would affect the dealer 3 states away and make it impossible for them to sell the bikes.
Right.
And so that's called map pricing. Mm-hmm. And at Krieger, it was always a race to the bottom. At Krieger, they weren't selling you the bike, they were selling you the financing. So they'd be like, I don't care if you got a 420 credit score. If you can afford $178 a month, you can have this DR600. Mm-hmm. Whereas at Cleveland Akron Honda, what they were more interested in was saying, okay, this is the motorcycle. This is what it is. We've got this Honda program. We got this Ducati program. We got this other program. And they would be more like, okay, if you can't swing this bike, we're going to move you over onto this bike. But it wasn't like, oh, it's okay. What can you afford, Steve? Can you afford $160 a month? Have we got a bike for you? Nope. We didn't even ask you what kind of bike you wanted to ride.
Do you remember our boss? Because I worked at North Shore with Steve, and you were there. Do you remember Rick Salzman's things? Like, what was it? It was like Rick Salzman or whatever. It was like...
he did the commercials.
Yeah, but remember it was like the gas mileage. Wasn't it like sick of 18 miles per gallon? Come on down to Rick Salzman, North Shore Yamaha.
He was legendary. That was always that pitch was always the, come on down to Uncle Bob's Country Bunker. We got mopeds for the kids.
Dude, he was a dick. He made me cut my dreads, man.
What?
Well,
that's not right.
You can't be a parts guy and have dreadlocks.
Rick, if you're listening to this,
seriously. No, it's okay.
Not all the feelings reflect that.
I got some. I can say some shit to Bob Setovey right now too, and he's still alive to hear it. So I'm not afraid to throw my we could have, Kirk Compton, who's one of my friends. He's itching to come on the podcast all the time, and he's just down the street at the Triumph dealership. Yeah. And so him and Ray Natarian are always like, man, we want to come on the podcast. We want to come on the podcast. And I'm like, well, we've got stories. Like we could definitely throw some shit at each other. Hey, remember that time you fucked me over with that guy? And remember that time you stole that sail out from under me? Because it is most of the time in an environment when you get into the Cleveland Akron thing. That's why I asked if you ever worked for Doc in Akron. Yeah. Because that Ducati dealership, that Northern Ohio Ducati, they made him cut his building in half to be Triumph on one side and Ducati on the other, because those two brands at the time had said, we refuse to share space. Yeah. How petty is that? Yeah. You have one dealership representing 200 square miles or 400 square miles, and you're going to go in and tell a man how he has to where he has to put his property on the floor.
Especially in the Midwest.
Exactly.
You can't,
Thank you.
boutiques do not.
When you've got guys putting a bike on a trailer and bringing it 250 miles to do a warranty claim, the boutique mentality, you can't stress your dealers that hard when he's working on a bike that not only did he not profit from the sale of, now he's only going to get screwed on the warranty claim. But now you're also going to make him say, oh, I'm sorry, now we have to put a door in this side of the building so customers can walk through this door to go to the Triumph side of the shop, and customers have to walk through that door to go through the Ducati side of the shop. Wow, man, that is an abundance of pettiness.
Yeah.
And that didn't exist in the 90s when it was more like, aren't we all just excited to have a dealership that acknowledges the existence of Kajivas and Benellis and Ducatis and BMWs and all kinds of cool shit? I got to admit, it was pretty special.
It was, absolutely.
It was pretty fucking special.
And you let the market, you let the customers determine what bikes were, and we had a blast making fun of each other.
Yeah.
It's like, because you can't afford a Ducati or blah, 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 or something like that. And the R1 showed up on the door and it was like, oh, shit.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, better stop. Don't talk shit because it's a very,
Don't put your title on the line.
Yeah, right. Right.
Just between me and you, shit's totally fast.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we had fun because it was like, there was the diehard Suzuki, diehard Kawasaki, diehard Ducati guy, diehard Honda, and we all got, it was like the camaraderie, even though we were making fun of each other and ripping on each other all the time, we wouldn't have had it any other way. I was very happy that my friend was obsessed with Hondas and he had RC30s and RC4, I was thrilled that happened, and other friends had R1s and ZX7s and ZX, all of that stuff. So
it's starting to come back right now. So in the sport bike community, Cleveland gets a bad rap. You're going down 71, you're going down I-90, and somebody goes past you on the back wheel at 120. Yeah. Right? You instantly shake your fist at them and yell, "Get off my lawn!" Right?
And total dickheads, man.
Thanks, Sleepy. Way to go. Way to usher that in for him. And but what you don't realize is there is a giant sport bike community right now happening in Ohio.
Yeah.
And they are getting together, and it's not the guys that are saying, let's go out, take the license plates off our bikes and break as many laws as we can break. No, it's a resurgence of track days. It's a resurgence of people learning and getting technical training. It's a resurgence of guys building really, really sweet bikes. The days of the let's stretch the swing arm out to infinity and put 7 chains together, those are done.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that anymore.
Thank God and good riddance.
I think you go to the drag strip and there's still a lot of grudge match dudes.
Now that's Wednesday. You sure? I'm not okay. Right. Okay. And yes, the KZ1000 lived well into the 90s. Right. Right. There will always be those guys, but I'm happy to see that, at least from me watching people that are doing a good job and being present out there, it does seem like there are a lot of people that are back into the idea of building good motorcycles
instead of garbage with stretched swing arms.
Right, not cheap, cheesy shit. Yeah. They're actually building good motorcycles.
Well, I think the barometer here is BMW got into the game when the sport bikes, and they've brought a legitimate product to the scene.
Not only did they bring a legitimate. Now hold on,
which we want. We absolutely need and we want.
You're not just fucking around there, because when
the S1000RR is a weapon.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, and it's arguably necessary.
Yes.
Right, because if we want this stuff to exist, it's fine to say this is ridiculous. Why? Whoever needs something like that?
Right.
And you're right. You're absolutely right. But if we want it to exist, period.
When somebody
who needs anything, though? You don't have to need.
What
something.
is life in existence?
Who needs a Hummer? Who needs this? Who
I can use a Hummer right now.
I guess the funny thing was kind of watching the existence of the Hayabusa, right?
Yeah.
And watching that 1300 come out and setting this crazy thing at 186 miles per hour, and then seeing everybody kind of go, I don't trot out the gentleman's agreement too much, but then that idea of being like, okay, all right, BMW said, well, we can do that, right? We can do a 1200. We can make something like that happen. Kawasaki definitely rolled out, and they rolled out with a ZX 1400, right? And these other manufacturers, well, that's that idea. The rising tide raises all the boats, right? And it establishes a new standard. And it was great that BMW decided to say, okay, we're not going to be stodgy. We're going to go out and we're going to have a performance fucking superbike.
Because they want to race too.
Exactly.
Right? And that's...
And if you race on Sunday, you sell on Monday.
Yeah.
That's always been the thing. And I give that, there's a hell of a lot to be had for that. And I remember the days when I was kind of like, I wonder if Ducati's ever going to do a Transverse 4. An inline 4. Like, is Ducati going to just give up the twin? Are they going to eventually just be like, well, we need to do an inline 4 so we
They
can...
would never do that.
They won't do an
would a
inline
V4.
4, yeah, which they are, right?
Which they're
Yeah.
doing,
But
right.
And then started in MotoGP,
Exactly.
and now it's and there's a little bit of rumblings like has the V2 reached? It's an L, right? But has the twin
Has the
reached?
120 gotten to the point,
has
yeah.
it reached its point?
As far
It's
as it
not
can go.
right because now,
Right.
just this week, Ducati announced the Panigale V2 final edition.
The final
And that's it.
edition.
That's it. And
It's
so what
done.
does that mean? Because it's a
Right.
super sport bike
It
now.
is.
It's a Moto America super sport bike. It's a world super sport bike. So what does that mean? Are they going to make a small V4
That's-
for super sport, or are they going to do like our Yamaha does and just homologate a few of them just for the track?
I agree.
And then
Well, I mean,
you know,
Honda proved a point a long time
With the
ago.
RC211V.
You can do a lot more with a little bit.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yep, it's absolutely true. And changing the dynamic, taking that approach with when Honda did the RC211V, that changed GP for everybody.
Yeah.
And that really did say, oh, well, if you want to make a GP bike, it's got to be two-stroke, it's got to be this, it's got to be that. And Honda was like, oh, really? Hold my beer.
Stocky.
Have you guys ever seen 211 horsepower?
Sapporo.
Right? And Honda did that, and they rolled out with that, and it was a rideable, usable motorcycle that won races day one, and then everybody else went, okay, we got to shift, right? And that's good because that
but
changes.
now they're in trouble, unfortunately.
I
It's
know.
sad.
Well,
It's very
we
sad.
know that right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they're definitely at the back of the pack
Yeah.
right now. So
And we want that. We want them at the front.
we
You know,
need
it's-
them at the front.
yeah.
And Aprilia right now has been having glory days. So
Yeah.
Aprilia's been doing so much better than we thought they should be doing. So if you follow that sort of thing, it's great to watch the throne change hands over and over and over again,
Yeah.
because that forces the development of technology.
So, yeah, each one of them, right? And that's
Absolutely.
why it's absolutely. We see the same thing. Not to bring up something totally irrelevant to motorcycles,
Right.
but we see the same thing in the world of software and computers, right? You know, these companies have to keep raising
Yes.
the bar because if everybody was like, oh no, I only live in an Apple world or something like that, it would be very boring. We would never go forward. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I was trying to break you, but you could say the same thing within the different disciplines of motorcycle racing. Honda's on top of the motocross world right now.
Yeah.
So maybe they've slipped behind in the super sport bike world, but these arms races do build off one another, and it's like continuously building momentum.
We wouldn't have cornering traction control. We wouldn't have cornering ABS. We wouldn't have Bosch motorcycle stability control systems if it wasn't for the innovations that happen on the racetrack that have now filtered down into the KTMs, the Zeros, the BMWs, that now provide any customer, any rider, your BMW, with a much safer, faster riding experience. That technology was not priceless, but in the $1 million range 10 years ago. And now it's appearing on a $17,000 motorcycle.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. Not only is it going to save lives, but it's
10
going to make
years
you
from
faster.
now, it'll be on every little 150 scooter.
Yeah, right. To think about it.
Look
Yeah.
at ABS. The Liberty and the Primavera have it front ABS.
I promise you, the other night, I had a spirited ride home. I haven't taken a spirited ride home on a Liberty in a long time. And it was lightly misting out. And we had a bike, a trade-in come in. And I was like, I haven't ridden one of those.
I'm going to have my way with you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Darth Vader's scooter, so to speak.
It is the best value in PR.
It is, and it's a straight up $3,000 purchase, brand new with a warranty.
Yeah.
And I railed it down the corner, and I took the first corner a little too spicy, right? And I do believe, I'm a trail braking kind of fella. I use a whole lot of front brake into the turn, through the turn, right? I'm writing checks with my front brake lever as I go into a turn, and then I'm just determining how much I'm going to release, right? That's the way I ride, and I never touch the rear brake hardly ever, ever, ever. And so here I am I'm on a scooter, but I'm doing that. And it was funny to feel the ABS on the front wheel remind me it was there, but it wasn't like ABS as we know, is like violent,
Oh, no.
upsetting.
Or the early days. of
Right.
ABS
This
bikes.
was a very subtle ha 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 ha.
I'm here for you, buddy.
It was yes, and that's and Pete.
Yeah.
Okay, you wad up a 30-mile-an-hour turn. I don't care whether you're on a 1200cc bike, a 150cc bike. The ground is still equally hard.
Yep.
And the fun thing was on cold tires. Just fired it up from the shop. Was going too spicy into the first turn. Fistful of front brake. Bop. Tuck the corner in. Drop it. And the bike mid-turn went ha ga 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 ga. And I held my line and I just made it through on wet pavement.
Yeah.
And I went, that didn't exist 5 years ago on a $3,000 bike.
Yeah.
That level of technology, that level of safety. And when my customers come into the shop and they're like, oh, well, I don't need ABS because I'm the world's greatest rider.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, watch this. I'll go to the other side of my parking lot and I'll haul ass across all, 80 feet or whatever the fuck it is. And I'll go into the grass. The grass. Grass is grass. And I will do a full 100% brake check as I'm transitioning from the concrete to the grass. And these bikes at a very low price point with relatively small wheels will go brrr, and I'll stop like a GP road racer will stop in 20 feet on wet grass. And I'm like, okay, let's see you do that without the ABS, bud.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's so much. I was like, no, so don't ever turn off the ABS.
No.
Yeah.
Okay? And I love that's filtered down.
Yeah.
But again, the first time somebody put ABS on a road racing motorcycle, which was something that was for the aviation industry, and somebody put ABS on a road racing motorcycle, everybody was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Slipper clutches are on everything now.
Oh, I wouldn't live without a slipper clutch. Even on those bikes, I put on slipper clutches, STMs.
And why?
Always. Because it was a whole different world.
Exactly.
I mean, it allowed you to ride the bike and let the clutch out and blip the throttle and let the clutch out and go into a corner. And you could feel the click in the lever, but you knew that it wasn't going to. Because I remember riding Grattan. I had a run of just horrible, like nothing felt right.
Yeah.
And I had a 916 and riding Grattan, and it didn't have a slipper clutch, and I was skidding the rear wheel into every corner, and I hated it, right? Because I couldn't ride like that. At my level, I couldn't ride like that, and I was getting killed. And I remember this day, it's like, everybody was like, you're just too slow right now. You're too slow. And it was like, but you don't understand this bike. I can't even ride this bike. Because and that slipper clutch changed everything.
Now, Dan, today you rode the Honda CB500X.
Yep.
But you showed up on your Tiger 660. What was your review when you got off the CB500X?
I mean, the CB500S, it has at least like half the horsepower
Right.
of my Triumph.
Yep.
It handles at least half as good.
Yep.
It's at least half as comfortable.
Yep. But you said
It's got
something.
great brakes and great torque. It does not have a slipper clutch.
Exactly, and he noticed it.
Yeah.
Just riding around the street.
Yeah.
So explain the way it felt differently between a slipper clutch and a non-slipper clutch, because you're not backing it into the corners, right? You're not riding in the rain or the mud and the blood and the beer. You're riding on dry pavement on a 50 horsepower bike, but you brought it in. Describe what you felt that.
The rear wheel would start to skid even going perfectly straight ahead when I would downshift.
Yeah, and a slipper clutch takes all of that away.
Yeah.
And that smoothness that you talked about, like, yeah, they're both going to be 6-speed transmissions. They're both going to do their thing, but the slipper clutch takes away the violence between the gears when you're both, when you're downshifting through the stack.
Well, that's what on the BMW I have now. I've never had a shift assist, and so when we went to the twisties like that, like it's so weird to not do anything but go, and it does. It just is in the next gear.
Right.
Like it's not even like you don't even It's just, and you're in the next gear.
Right. And this is all road racing technology.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
That was 15 years ago, was cutting edge, and people were talking about, do we have to rewrite the rule book now? Because it's giving Team A a distinct advantage. And slipper clutch is giving people the ability to back a bike into a turn and be able to carry corner speed or embrace wheel slip the first time I saw somebody, and I wasn't sure whether it was Spees or whether it was Stoner. The first time I saw, maybe it's Stoner. The first time I saw him coming through a corner and he was backing the bike in, and I was like, he's going to crash the next time he does that. There's no way he can pull that off twice. But he was completely in control, even though his tire was not adhering to the road. In my opinion, I thought he had sacrificed his traction package. But what in fact he was doing was he was saying, I'm putting my wheel where I need my wheel to be to exit this turn, but I'm using rotational force to do it. And that's fucking amazing. Mm-hmm. But you can do that now predictably because of that technology. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. And it's going to save lives. It's going to make people better riders. And it's going to give you a better riding experience too. Super awesome.
And the horsepower game has completely changed.
Yes, it is.
Right? You know, anybody that says a modern MotoGP racer, a modern superbike racer isn't as good as anybody was 20, 30 years ago,
right,
has no idea what they're even talking about, because now we are talking about 300 horsepower, right? 360 pounds. And these guys are every bit as good. And if you know anybody who's young, they always want to beat their elders, right? So if these guys grew up 20, 30 years ago, it'd be the same thing. 40, 50 years ago, they'd be faster and they'd be riding those unridables. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, they were unridables to you and me.
Of course.
But the guys that could ride them, they were ridables, right? And that's the same thing with now.
100 horsepower per liter. When you looked at the old math formula and you went, well, the bike's a 500, so hopefully it's got 50 horsepower.
Yeah.
Oh, the bike's a 1,000. Hopefully it's got 100 horsepower, right? That was the standard. We've experienced the past 25 to 30 years where a 600cc super sport is 120 horsepower.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Right? What the actual fuck? And when you say, okay, well, this motorcycle's 286 horsepower out of a liter class machine. My God, the power to weight ratio on that is fantastic. It really, really is. And that flexibility that you get when you're on a BMW 800, a BMW 850, a BMW 900, to be able to have an extra 30 horsepower that you never had before means you don't need 1200 cc's anymore to do the same job. You're doing the same job with 800, 850, 900 cc's. Everything's better. Everything's lighter. The bike is narrower. You have a lot more tools in your tool belt, and you still have the same horsepower that you had 10 years ago.
Yeah, and
so much better.
And the technology is so good. Your ass is mostly covered.
Yep.
In hairy situations when, just a decade ago or 2 decades ago, you're running off the corner or,
Yeah, the first time
it's not bad to have.
The first time I put my Ducati Multistrada in dirt mode, you take a 155 horsepower motorcycle and you're like, well, this is the dumbest thing I'm going to do today. Is I'm going to put a 155 horsepower adventure sport motorcycle? What the fuck is that thing? A sport touring motorcycle? And I'm going to go on some gravel now? On street tires? And I press the button for dirt. And all of a sudden, Mr. 155 horsepower trims down to 42 horsepower or whatever, and it's completely predictable. Mm-hmm. This 1200cc motorcycle that's a little too tall, a little too top heavy, a little too weird, all of a sudden just took its behavior pills. It's on its Lexapro now, and it's cool. We're fine. We're buddies again. That you can do that with a button press. Mm-hmm. That you can take away the scary danger factor, which, if that bike only had one riding mode for the entire Multistrada, it would suck, right? It wouldn't be a great, fun motorcycle to do all the things that it can do. Mm-hmm. And it's, that's been the savior of 55-year-old men everywhere, is a Ducati that still has the sexy factor but doesn't hurt your back or your wrists, and the gas tank doesn't punch you in the coccyx, So, it's great that Ducati did that. It's great that Ducati went to that direction, because the TDM 850 wasn't allowed to have all the fun, right? Ducati came in there and said, we're going to do that job better, I feel. I think they did a good job with that. So that's cool. Tonight's homework. First part of tonight's homework has to be a motorcycle that you can buy for $4,000 if you're only allowed to have one fucking motorcycle. Not one of 6 motorcycles, not a motorcycle to complement the 17 motorcycles you already have, but an single motorcycle. Pete, you going first?
Honda Monkey.
And
you can buy a new one.
Oh yeah, this is true.
Are they really 4K?
That's about right. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I am going to
100
pull up.
miles per gallon.
It's 100 miles per gallon. Oh man, that's going to be a hard.
You can ride it to Mid-Ohio. You can ride it around Mid-Ohio.
Yes, well,
You
no,
can even
no.
take it up the hill climb.
Well,
at
we're going to talk
Mid-Ohio.
about Mid-Ohio bikes next. So,
Well, okay.
but the first bike is not necessarily Mid-Ohio bike. The first bike is definitely a $4,000 machine. Now, bonus points if your $4,000 machine is also your Mid-Ohio machine. That's cool too. Damn, you're right. Holy crap. There's a $2,850. There's a $2,850 Monkey right now.
Is it brand new?
No. It's delightfully used. I'm going to throw it up on the board so everybody can see it. I don't know what's wrong with it. I mean,
I've kept an eye on that one actually.
you have?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
It's got the tails taken off of it. They're looking for a Grom now. It's got the Yoshi pipe on it.
It's got a low pipe. That's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
9,000 miles. That's pretty.
That's
Oh yeah, no. It's been used.
Yeah. Wait, are these
You're right.
are these fuel injected yet?
Oh yeah.
Are they?
they
Nice.
are. Yeah, they are.
Where is the license plate?
Exactly.
Oh, I don't think they care about such things.
I think it's got
It's tucked
a
up
marker
under. They got
over
that
it.
red smear on it.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
I don't want to
It
show
is.
that.
It has
still
been
got
lightly
this-
loved.
Got the stock suspension on it.
Yep.
Right.
You got cheap.
Yeah, okay. So $2,850, you got a lot of budget left over. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
you got $1,150 to do whatever you want with
That's
that
your
particular
suspension
steed.
right there.
Is that the way it works out?
Yeah, $1,150.
$1,150.
Fix everything else is wrong with it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
I think I currently own the $4,000 only bike. If I had to have one bike, is the Versys.
The Versys, right? And you're absolutely right when it comes to, buying that bike.
That's why I bought the Versys, because it was
$4,000.
It was $4,000 and it did everything.
And it did everything right.
That's
If I had to have one bike, I could live with this one.
The reason I picked that number, in case anyone's wondering why the number was 4,000, why I thought 4,000 was an interesting number, is we've seen a certain weird inflation happen. So the past couple of years, numbers have gone a little wacky. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to one of the reps from a nationwide motorcycle distributor, and he was saying, what do your customers want to spend? What do they want to spend? What's the target that you think you could get a guy into the bike and a guy into the shop and make a sort of an impulse buy on a 300cc motorcycle or a 400cc motorcycle? And I said, well, you can't do it, but I think $4,000, $39.99. If you can produce a motorcycle with fuel injection, 300 cc's, 400 cc's, a bike that can do a lot of things, can safely go on the highway at 75 or 80 miles an hour.
Okay, the monkey's out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I didn't.
The Versys 300 is all over that.
Yep. And that's my point.
But
And
it's limited though because it has a 21-inch front wheel or 19 or whatever thing. I think your Versys is still better. It's because it's
I'd
more.
buy a used Versy 650.
well, and
over
again,
that.
that's why we're saying.
Well, yeah. 'Cause
That's why I said Facebook Marketplace. We're not trying to tell you new,
Yeah.
because anybody, and I'm a dealer, I'll be the first to tell you, new is not the right way to spend your money if you're on a $4,000 budget. I would hope that if you're on a $4,000 budget, I would hope that your solution for that $4,000 budget is to go into the dealership and buy a brand new bike, right? This is the time to buy a 6, 7, 9, 12, 14-year-old bike, right? That's for $4,000 budget. Anybody else got a recommendation for a $4,000 perfect motorcycle?
So because I get asked this all the time,
Yeah.
well, roughly, when the hell are you going to get rid of all that crap and buy something
Right.
that you can actually use?
Yeah.
I'm going with the 2012 Triumph Bonneville SE. And I say that because I love my Thruxton.
Okay.
I hate the carburetors.
Yeah, that's about what I was about to say too.
I hate the tube tires.
Yep. Yeah.
And
you're right.
there, actually, the top left is the one I've been eyeballing.
Yep.
It's
And
about
so-
38-ish.
Yep. And that's a pretty fucking good example of. Yeah.
And it even says he's got the tail eliminator, but he's also got the original rear fender. And this bike is under $4,000 all freaking day long.
It is.
And
It is.
I loved mine. It's stable as can be. It's
Right.
fun. It'll do 100 miles an hour. It will not do more.
No, but it doesn't need to.
Doesn't need to.
Right.
That one, because it's got the low pipes, you can actually put hard bags on the back, which is one of the things
That's
I
a big
regretted
advantage.
about my upsweeps.
Yeah, that is a giant advantage for a bike that you're going to
Yep.
use for everything, is being able to put bags on
You
the
can
back.
you can put all the luggage in the world on that. You can put a windscreen on it and drive all day. Do anything you want to it, and it literally will do every single thing you could ever ask of a motorcycle.
And it is a good-looking motorcycle.
And it's not the new one with
Right.
the water cooling that I've had a little bit of finicky problems with, and not the weird wiring stuff and everything else.
Yeah.
That's the last of the really good solid Triumphs, in my opinion.
And it kills me because that bike has 2,500 miles on it. So
that's a steal.
That's a steal. I mean, realistically, show up with $3,800.
Yeah.
Well,
If it's been up there for more than a week at $3,800, that's a $3,200.
we know, yeah, right. That's sort of the rules. But I do have to agree with you. For less than 4K,
Yeah.
that's a hell of a lot of motorcycle right there, man.
And they have sold. One of the bigger problems is when we've experienced this at the shop with
Yep.
the two we have. They sold so many of these.
Yeah.
And if you look at something like Dan's Speed, you had a Speedmaster or an America?
American.
If you look at that bike, because it's a cruiser style but same bike,
Right.
you drop another $1,000.
Yeah.
And it's the same power, same bike, same motor. The only thing that changes is the seating position in the front and the front forward pegs.
And Americas, too, are super, super undervalued.
Yeah.
Dan, what did you sell your fuel-injected America for?
3,700.
Boom.
2010.
Boom. Right there.
And
right
that is
there.
the biggest steal in the used motorcycle market right now.
It really is. That is the most bang for the buck.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hell of a lot of motorcycle. You can cruise cross-country on it. It's, yeah.
The only other bike I could find that I could think of in my head that would compete with that is the Deauville. The NC700D.
Yeah. Yep.
And I thought about that really hard because I like the hard bags and the big wings. It's like an ST1300, but
It is.
shrunk.
Yeah, it is.
But this bike, time and time again, I kept coming back to my Thruxton.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one I would look for would be that CB1100. I bet those I know they're in the 5. You can maybe get them 4,500.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't super fast or anything like that, but really good quality bike.
Well, you stole my bike.
You're only allowed one, John.
Good job, John. Good job.
Okay, so let's look at mine because I think I
Yeah,
can top
Dan, what
this.
you got?
I just want to throw this up while we're running in sequential
Yeah.
order now that John brought it up.
Yeah.
So this is a $3,800 tricked out,
Nice.
and it's got 4 into 2s, which are kind of sexy.
Sexy.
Right. And it's got a Corbin on it.
Sexy girl.
Right. Somebody spent a couple of dollars on that bike.
That's a steal.
I really can't believe they've come down that low.
I can't either.
That is,
it really
that's an insane bike.
it kind of fucked me up a little bit how cheap it was, right? And that is a very, very cheap bike. There is one sin that is committed on the entire motorcycle that I can see from the images. And on the one picture, you can see that this Looney Tune has put highway pegs on it. What? Yeah, he's got highway pegs on it.
Well,
And so, aside from, the Corbin's nice, don't get me wrong, the chrome side panels are pretty. The 4 into 2s are really nice.
I worked on a Norton one time that it had a red tank and
Yeah.
looked almost exactly like the bike in front of me.
I mean, that's 4
Had
into
the same
4s.
Corbin.
Yeah, that's 4
4 and 4s, I should say.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 4 and 4s. But it looks great. So, I mean, okay, great. There's my $3,800
That's
bucks.
a
I just
sexy
blew
piece.
it. Found $1,100 motorcycle for $3,800 bucks, and it's just a hair over 10 years old.
Yeah.
All right, Dan.
How many miles are on that?
22,000.
Okay.
So,
Been ridden, yeah.
So I found a 2005 Triumph Sprint ST 1050.
oh, nice bike.
$3,900 with like 12,000 miles on it.
And that Triumph, that Sprint. Oh, that's such a good bike.
I rode one of the Sprint 955s back in
yeah.
about 2002, and that's what got me interested in Triumphs.
Did you say 2003?
2005.
Okay, 2005. Okay. Yep. Well, I found a couple of them, but there's no shortage of them out there, by the way. Yeah.
Well, this goes back to how hard Triumph hit the American market and dumped as many bikes as they could, as fast as they could, and they're all good, solid bikes. Like even if you go back to the early ones, like the 3-cylinder that Sleepy the Thunderbird and stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Once you get them running right, they run great. But then you're dealing with carburetors and
Yeah, but I mean that's a modern
still a great
motorcycle
bike.
right there.
Yeah.
I mean that's not an
fuel
old
injected.
bike. That's
Yep.
a fuel injected
Yep.
ABS.
Because their sprints have always been fuel injected.
I mean,
I'm gonna
that's
be correct
all
on
the
that.
shit.
Back to
That's-
the-
that's-
Foo Fighter sticker.
yeah.
Yeah, well, not only that, but it's a single-sided swing arm. It
Yep.
comes with $2,000 worth of luggage.
Oh no, kid. Yep.
That's a pretty goddamn sweet
That's a good
deal
deal.
right there. Yeah. Mark, do you have an opinion on that Triumph Triple?
It's a good bike.
Yeah.
I rode, it was in 2003, Triumph Sprints, but no single-sided swing arm, I don't believe,
Right.
that year.
Yeah, not
right?
that
I
year,
rode
that
them in
was-
Costa Rica, and we were a Triumph dealer, but a friend of mine had a bunch of them down there.
Uh-huh.
We flew to Costa Rica so I could repair some shift shafts on their Honda bikes, and the part of the
And like a Honda dealer in San Jose, or
no, it was a friend. So a friend of mine owned something called Moto Adventure at the time, and it was this adventure tour through Costa Rica on Honda dirt bikes, right?
yeah.
And they were breaking shift shafts on them.
Yep.
So there was about 6 of them that needed shift shafts, and I had to rip the engines apart. But a part of my, it was a relaxation, but I also had to work.
Right.
Was like, we're taking the Triumphs out because there are Triumphs there, and we're going to hit all of the back roads. So it was I wasn't a fan until I did that.
yeah,
And then it was incredible bikes. Absolutely.
yeah. Were you guys doing like the Barra and the Rincon and all that stuff?
Yeah. All of that stuff up through the volcanoes.
It's beautiful.
And,
Yeah.
I literally, I'm coming around a corner. I had all my leathers and everything with me. So knees on the ground, I'm dragging through a corner. And I remember in my head, he goes, if the police pull you over, just make sure you got a 20 on you or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm literally coming around the corner, knees on the ground. There's 2 guys sitting on a Bronco, 2 cops on a old Ford Bronco.
Oh,
They just
really?
look at me and they wave as I'm railing
you're
around
railing
this,
by?
like this volcano, this pass.
Mount RNL.
Yeah. And of course I check up because I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah, of
it's safe.
course.
But no, they didn't do a thing. So
It's cool. I liked Costa Rica. I thought Costa Rica had the right level of.
Yeah.
There's the stuff you need there, but there's also a sense of like, oh, okay, just go do it, just go have fun.
Yeah.
We did ATV tours, we did dirt bike tours that led out of San Jose, and we did dirt bike tours that led out of Jaco.
Yeah.
And they were always great. And the guys that ran the tours were very super nice. They were just like always like, hey, we're just happy you're here.
Yep.
And oh, you've never ridden a dirt bike before? Okay, we'll work with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of people on our tour that I think they thought they were signing up for maybe a donkey tour or maybe like a bicycle tour. They were shocked that there were motorcycles involved, and they were shocked that those motorcycles had clutches and transmissions and shit.
Yeah.
And I don't know how the fuck they did it, but the guides somehow managed to teach 2 people from Milwaukee that had never been on a motorcycle in their lives how to ride a Honda 250 dirt bike, like in 12 minutes. And they just were blah, 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 always in 4th gear. They never changed gears ever. But they were there. They had a good time.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a great.
Dan, I love your choice, man. The Triumph Sprint ST for under $4,000, fully bagged out and ready to go cross country. Chris, that's singing a Kawasaki Concourse vibe to me. Looking at that motorcycle.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit, right? It's that idea. It's that sort of a cross-country sport bike thing. I like that. I really think that's a cool bike. I dig that. Okay, anybody else got one?
How about you, Sleepy? What, you don't ever buy a $4,000 bike?
No, I do. I mean, all the ones I'm taking to Mid-Ohio are well under.
So if you were looking for an under $4,000 bargain.
Yeah, no, but I pretty much said yours. I was just thinking like I would take either the 650, 1000, whatever, the most Versys I could get for 3,800 and a good thing,
Right. Yeah.
I've seen the Versys 1000 with like dropped on the right side, mechanically perfect for
So now you would take the step and you try to find a 1000.
I mean, whatever came up and made sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if there was a mint, let me put it this way: if there was a beat up 1000 and a mint 600, I would take the 600. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever made more sense.
I know there's a couple of Versys 1000s out there that are kicking around the $5,000 mark, right? There's a few of them out there. There's a metric shit ton of Versys 650s out there for under 4K.
Yeah, I mean it's unbelievable.
The other bike is the SV650.
Well,
all day long.
You won't catch a complaint from me on that.
I mean, if you're going that route and you're already talking about the Versys, I'd just go with the V-Strom because they have less value than a V-Strom.
You're right.
They are unkillable.
Oh yeah,
they're unkillable.
I've got one in the garage right now that I'm actually trying to give away. That has been beat to death and left to die, and I literally could go out there right now with a battery and start it.
I would bet you. Oh my God, yeah. I would bet you that you can get a V-Strom 1000 for under 4K without even thinking about it.
Yep.
You talk about that TL1000S motor.
Yeah.
Right? Same motor.
You know what nobody mentioned, and it was a proven fucking 80,000 mile go around the world bike? DR650 all day long.
Yeah, that's
all day long.
Yeah, that's single.
There you go, $4
Yeah,
grand.
look at that, and that's got big aluminum boxes already on it. It's got crash bars
right there.
It's got crash bars already on it.
Those are Tusk. They're
they're Tusk. Yeah,
$125 a piece.
No, you're right. Tusk is the boxes other boxes come in. That's what those are.
they're just
Tusk is like, if we take these two mailboxes, stick them in the middle, and put a lid on it, we got us a fucking.
And by the way, I just to validate Sleepy and be like, Sleepy's got the look at that Tusk.
Yeah.
Right. When the biggest sticker on your bike is Tusk, and the second biggest is the one that says "I love fat girls." That's what it says right there on the back.
Yeah.
I don't care. He's got an anti-Clibbins Club sticker on the back of that thing.
All right, he gets credit for that.
And he's got spools on the back for the center stands. He's got clearly what look like fucking Mitas or some other gravel gripper tires
are they
on there.
Giving up riding is why they're selling this
He's got
bike?
Shinko 805s on the back, right? He's got the big fat dual fat cans. Buy that bike. Buy that fucking bike.
Yep.
That's a good deal.
21,200 miles.
Oh, that's not even broken.
Oh, come on, man. It's not even due
He's
for
got a Sasquatch sticker on it.
That's not even due for the valve.
It's
And it's the most unoffensive color I've ever seen.
No,
one of
that's
them come in.
that is Oldsmobile Buick Burgundy right there. Yeah, that is resale red. Right. Nobody in the world is going to challenge your handicap parking spot.
No.
It is literally not even due for a valve service.
No, it's due for nothing and for $4,000.
And he's got
That motorcycle's when you have no self-respect, but you really want to ride.
That is exactly right. Right.
Nick, where are you, buddy? This is all.
Poor Nick.
No,
Poor Nick.
that motorcycle's mantra is nobody fucks me like me.
And look,
I'd fuck me.
That's right.
I'd fuck me
That
real
motorcycle doesn't care.
if Nick bought that, he could fall over and it wouldn't even do anything because he would fit in between the
Yes.
boxes.
Yeah, right. He wouldn't hurt his ankle ever. Yeah, I love that. A heat skid plate, GV crash bars, Tusk panniers, Shad pannier rack, Oxford heated grips, Tusk's Chubb bars, Delcovic stainless mufflers. That's where your money is, by the way. Shorty windscreen and touring screen, an 805 on the back with 2,000 miles. You got another 1,000 miles left in that. 705 on the front with 5,000. You got another 5,000 left in that. Come on, dude. That's $4,000.
Yeah, that's a good price.
That's Chinese scooter money.
Yeah.
And it's got big flat boxes you can make sandwiches on.
Yep.
Take that box off. You can sit by the campfire on it. I don't hate that motorcycle.
Oh,
that
no.
might be the pick of the litter as far as I'm concerned. Right?
Bad.
It's got all the things.
And again, it's a V-Strom, so you know it's good for like 85, 90 million miles.
The wrecked one I bought for $500 to put that 650 back together. The guy had bought it at 70,000 miles and rode it from Oregon to Louisiana, where it died.
Chris,
and it died because it got hit by a truck.
Did you ever get to ride that concourse that we had that had over 100,000 miles on it? That blue one?
Yeah, I believe I did.
You did get to ride that bike.
Yeah.
Tight as a drum.
Yeah.
Tight as a drum. I didn't hesitate. His old girlfriend, John Stafford, came to town and said he wanted to ride the motorcycle around all the lakes.
Well.
And he's like, Phil, let me rent a bike from you. I said, John, I'm going to do you one better. I'm not going to charge you a penny, but you got to ride a Kawasaki Concourse with 100,000 miles on it. And he'd had the most successful 3,000-mile trip ever. The bike never skipped a beat, and
he has no dignity anyway.
Again, right? Again, a perfect motorcycle for somebody who's totally willing to fuck himself. But he had a lifetime adventure, right? Riding around all the Great Lakes, getting away from his family, doing a thing on a motorcycle that had absolutely no dollar value, right? And just gave him everything it had, 100% every single day. He left, he came back. The only thing he paid for was gas.
And he only had 3 fill-ups.
Probably, right. No shit. Yeah, that bike, true. Hey, this bike's great off-road. What do you mean? We sold that bike. That bike with 100,000 miles on it, we sold it to a girl at Mid-Ohio. Her and her boyfriend came by. We know them. They're podcast listeners. They hang out at Skidmark.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. They showed up and they were like, hey, I want to buy that bike for my girlfriend. And I was like, where's your girlfriend? Your girlfriend's going to buy a Concourse 1000 to ruck up and commute in Cleveland. Okay. Well, Mid-Ohio is nothing but grass and gravel. Can I take it for a test ride? hold my beer.
Yeah, have at it.
Have at it. I'm ready.
Yeah, the entertainment will be worth the fee.
She's wearing shorts and motorcycle boots. She jumped on that thing and off she straight up fucked, right? Gone. She was gone for 12, 13 minutes, came back. This is great. If you think it's great now, wait till you put 17 gallons of gas in it. You're going to love it, right? And yeah, so that 100,000 mile bike that we dicked around with went on to be somebody else's first touring bike.
Beautiful.
Fucking how cool is that?
Really
and I'm not going to tell you, like, I think I sold it to her for like $800 or something, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. But that's a beautiful, God, I love that bike. I love that DL1000 V-Strom for $4,000.
If I had that, though, I'd have to take the mirrors off so I wouldn't catch a look at myself riding it.
Hey, sorry, Pete, you already have an ARP card. That bike comes with an ARP card.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a good one. Anyone else got something?
Well, I got one.
All right, Chris, lay it on me, brother.
And mine's also a 2006 Suzuki Bergman.
Oh, a Bergman. Jesus Christ. Wow. Do you really want to see yourself on a Bergman?
Fuck yeah.
For the only bike you're going to own?
Fuck yeah.
Oh, my God.
Fuck everybody else.
Which one is it? Which one did you find, Chris? There's a bunch of them on there, man.
This one.
Oh, you printed it out?
He printed the internet. Chris printed the internet.
Nice.
I had Gertrude running through the mimeograph machine. You can still smell the toner on it. Oh, sweet baby Jesus.
$2,700.
Okay, Chris, point on the screen to where your bike is.
He's going to print the...
$2,700.
Oh my God! You know what? My fucking kidney hurts from laughing so hard.
He also printed the directions on how to get there on MapQuest.
I'm just gonna type in. You said it's a 2006, Chris.
Yeah, Bergman.
It's a 650. Of course it is.
Yeah.
It's the 650.
There's no shortage of them available.
No, there's no
here.
short of them. Apparently.
Well, COVID.
Apparently.
Motors out.
Oh, my throat hurts from laughing so hard. That was just violent. I love the way you printed it out, though. That's just so badass.
Let me see your ad, Chris.
Chris, did you find that bike in
What's the title?
Butte, Montana? Oh, there it is. Cleveland, Ohio. It's ranked pretty low. I think there might be a spelling err.
Suzaki? No, wait. No.
Is it the Soshumi?
Okay.
How many? Well, it's only 4,000, so you got 16,000 for the belt shreds.
No, but he could, if the guy likes the transmission. I've seen those. So those have the sport tranny.
Those are the two-piece with the swivel in the middle, and they've got the belt that when it goes, you just basically throw the bike away.
Well, I'm gonna translate that from Tom into reality. The repair for the transmission, if your transmission shits the bed on this bike, you're looking at about $2,300. The Selectomatic Performance transmission, when guys would get them and put it in power mode, and then you could literally manually shift the transmission, and it was kind of a fake electronic gear ratio thing. The Aprilia Mana did the same thing. Like, hey, look, you've got a 6-speed gearbox.
Oh, but it was just...
But it's just ramping ramping the cones.
Yeah.
Right. So to do that, to play that, it's kind of violent on the system.
Yeah.
And guys would be like, check it out, I'm going to hold out first gear. But it's a CVT, dude, right? Yeah. You know, you're not winning any races. I'm going to bang shift second.
Yeah.
It's a CVT, dude, right? So a lot of guys didn't see the other side of 5,000 miles on these transmissions. The bike is great. It handles great. It drives great. It's a fucking...
They're very comfortable.
Super long
bikes,
range. And
but when
honestly,
they're mistreated-
and not kidding, Chris, with 4,300 miles on it, this thing's got a lot of life left in it.
And maxis do not hold their value. So
Nope.
that is literally a steal.
And he came in, and Chris's thing came in 1,300 below budget.
Yeah.
So he's got
A lot of money for fireworks and
7 nights in the hotel wherever he decides to go on this
Exactly.
fucking thing.
Once
right?
it breaks down, yeah.
Once it breaks down.
well, no, that's the thing is
No.
if it's been well treated,
Yeah.
4,000 miles,
It's
it's
nothing
been
on
well
these,
treated,
right.
that bike will go 30,000 miles easy.
I mean, if you did it right, you could buy that and a buddy scooter and
That's
tow the
true.
buddy in case this breaks down.
I don't think... Yeah, and this bike does actually look like it's been
It's
very
it
well
looks like it's
maintained.
and it's
Yeah.
not. There was a really ugly like executive model.
Well, yeah, there was.
This is not that ugly executive model.
Yeah.
This is the really good looking.
Keep in mind, this bike's been on the market. This is another one of those bikes we talked about that's had a 20-year lifespan.
Oh, yeah.
Right? There's been several versions.
We worked on the 400 recently and couldn't get the belt for it from
We
Suzuki
didn't realize
anymore.
that sometimes when you say Suzuki and you're like, wow, they've made about 9 million Suzuki Bergman 400s. But what we didn't know was they made them 5 different ways. So there's been 5 changes in the build order of these bikes. So you're like, oh, they're all Bergman 400s are the same. No, my friend, that is not true. There's a lot of differences between these bikes. And some of the stuff like expendables, they're not universal.
Yeah.
So you found out getting aftermarket parts for your ATV. We found out getting aftermarket parts for a Bergman. No, a duck is not a duck is not a duck.
And the weird part is you think, oh, it's just an extra millimeter.
Nope.
You could just shave it off the belt. No, you're not.
Nope, it doesn't work right.
Nope.
All I have to say is not only is this motorcycle a good value, but the guy selling it has a great name. It's Len Fiesta.
How about Honda CTX?
Okay.
I wouldn't want it to be my only bike. I wouldn't really want to own it.
That whole thing about.
But I look at them and I look at the value. And
But you do say,
I just saw one sell for $2,700 with no miles.
John, you say you wouldn't want to have one, and you say that but you've been having trouble sleeping lately.
Yeah.
And I think a CTX
That might
Would help put you to sleep.
is exactly what you need.
There's a dude at Summit that parks next to me.
And they're not all. They shift. Some of them have actual.
yeah, you have deep-
yeah.
well,
Well, that's why I chose this one. It has
Yeah.
manual transmission.
Yeah.
Right? Yep.
God,
How
they're
much
even-
is that listed at?
$39.95.
How many miles? They usually have no miles.
10,982.
Yeah,
so,
that's kinda high for that.
Kind of high for that.
Dude, I
And
don't know,
it's
man.
just-
I know.
The
That-
dude at Summit has 68,000
Oh no!
miles on it.
My buddy that used to work with me in New Orleans has one. He had about 60,000 miles on it.
I
And
honestly-
they just keep going.
I don't
and
think
going.
there's any number of miles on this that could ever be deemed to be excessive.
It's reminiscent of that Harley boat tail we discussed last week.
I'm getting like a very cartoonish ghost vibe out of that one.
Yeah, they're very
You
much.
just needed strict transportation. I need the cheapest bike
yeah.
that'll get me. I don't have to
Absolutely.
worry about anything for
When-
a long time.
I'm with
There
you.
go.
A couple of years ago, you could buy these bikes brand new off the dealer floor for $3,400
Dude,
because
I
they
bought-
couldn't give them away.
I bought my NC 700 for
Yep.
$3,400 with
Yep.
312 miles on it.
And they are literally, I mean, as we're talking about best value and bikes you don't want to look at yourself in the mirror in, this is the bike that you want to buy.
Yeah.
It's the same motor.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is. It's the
And
same
'cause
exact
it's
motor.
this and the NC, well, because this is the NC 500 is a smaller version of that motor.
Well, and this one, and just
yeah.
a little
Pretty
for the
much.
peanut
The
gallery.
NC 500? Or the
The one Phil has
They
outside.
have bags for these, and when you
That's
put
a
the
complete-
bags
Oh,
on,
yeah.
it changes everything. It actually
So,
looks.
I don't know
kinda
if you
decent.
guys-
Well, this is also the NMO1. This is also all of the other.
400 podcasts ago, we had a burgundy colored one of these at my shop with the bags and the Honda Line touring windshield and the automatic transmission. And I believe we let everyone ride it. And I think we all said the same thing. Well, now I know what a generator feels like. And why does the thing insist on changing gears in the middle of a turn when I'm either accelerating or decelerating through the turn? Why is that the moment when I'm leaned over when it decides it should be in third or second, when I'm leaned over in a turn at a decreased speed or whatever? Like, any motorcycle safety instructor never taught the young guys you should change gears mid-turn.
Mid-corner.
And yet Honda decided it was a good idea.
Well, I mean, it's basically got the advanced version of the automatic transmission from their ATV on it. So
Yes, that's also true. But the reason I would buy this bike, John, GP exhaust.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it
And
does.
almost everyone has like a chopped off exhaust.
Chopped off
Yeah.
GP exhaust. So you know this thing sounds
Good God, look at that.
fierce.
Yeah.
The exhaust is hanging under that swing arm. It
It's-
looks like it was made
yeah.
out of a fence post.
It sounds just like a taco
Piece of
truck.
conduit.
This sounds just like a Predator generator. Yeah.
All right, I'll have your tacos ready
Yeah.
in 5 minutes.
Yep. This sounds exactly like a Harbor Freight generator.
Because there really is. I mean, it really just doesn't rev. It just goes.
No,
Okay,
no.
now you have power.
No, and
Okay, now you have power.
The dashboard has a LCD segmented tachometer, which is one of the dumbest things in the world because not only can you not over rev this bike, because you're going to,
Yeah.
because you don't want to believe that 4,400 RPM is the shift point.
Yeah.
You've never ridden a motorcycle in your life where 4,400 was the shift point. Not even a Harley Davidson Big Twin.
62 is red line.
62 is red line. 62, it's chopping your Sparky Sparks. And every single time I've ridden one of these, I'm not even halfway through first gear when I'm reminded that I should be in fourth gear. And these things chop spark on you fiercely.
But if you've got a week, this is a bike you can literally get on one coast and get off on the other coast, and your ass won't fall asleep.
Yeah, it's true, and you won't be bothered by all that pussy.
Oh yeah,
right. So that's nice.
I hate pussy.
nobody will want to be seen within 5 feet of this bike, but
it is a real motorcycle.
It will get you everywhere you need. And you know what? If you decorated that up as the Lawmaster,
yep. Yeah,
that's about the only way you can make that bike.
You still wouldn't do it.
No, you're right.
No, you're just picking up another guy named Tom from the fucking cosplay thing.
I can see a stormtrooper ride.
That's all. Yeah, stormtrooper, right?
Because they look even uglier with that all in one.
Safest motorcycle ever. Can't hit shit.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go. Well, that's a pretty good pick.
Who else?
All right. Who else got a pick? Anybody else got a pick? Anybody else haven't been heard yet? Lay one on us, man.
Nope.
I feel like we got some good ones.
What can you get a GSXR 750 for?
Okay, now I like that.
2001, maybe 2000.
Oh, I don't think we even need. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. And
which, by the way, would be a phenomenal track bike.
Yeah, which would be one of the best track bikes ever.
Oh, that's what we've been looking for.
Okay, $3,800 for a 02.
I saw one listing.
$4,300.
GSXR. That's it. He didn't have anything.
He didn't have anything else.
He's like, it's too big for me. I'm like, what is it?
Yeah, okay, I think I found it, guys. I think I found it. And this is the one that I would buy. And I got to admit, we're blowing out the bracket on this one. But
it's $300 over.
But it's 300 over.
Oh, he come down.
That's negotiable.
Yeah.
Okay, but for those of you who have that problem, and I have that problem.
Good looking bike.
This is a good looking bike. And the ass on this bike is particularly stylish. This is a nice looking bike coming and going. It's a good looking bike.
I'd have to put bigger mirrors on that one so I could look at myself.
Now this one gets death by spikes, so they've taken off most of the fasteners and installed pike nuts.
Yeah, that was a thing, and then
that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It was a predecessor to wings, you know.
It was
track days like that.
Aerodynamic cheating. Yeah.
Yeah. Good God.
My God. But you know what? I'm going to say this. I'm going to read the listing because first of all, it's in Canton, which means there's meth involved.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So the title might not be in his name.
There might be some in the bike
method to the madness.
You're expecting a title?
The other side of that, though, is the kids rebelling against their religious parents. You get a lot of the kids doing wheelies out there that their parents are like Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yep.
And they're like the anti-Christ of the family, riding wheelies and fucking spikes everywhere.
This bike is 15 years old, right? And this bike has 25,000 miles and 75,000 wheelies. Manual transmission. No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, no, that's...
Gray. 2 owners. Both in jail. Runs fantastic. Very fast. It's definitely not a beginner's bike. Replaced all fairings.
Don't drive it
for no reason.
Not voluntarily.
Don't drive it near a cop.
Yeah, the bank wouldn't like to see what you're doing with their motorcycle.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Replaced all fairings. We know that. Tail lights. Yeah, you looped it. Brand new tires. Full tune-up and oil change. My price is non-negotiable. Really? Let me show you 4 stacks.
Those are the cheapest Shinkos you
Never
can buy.
been dropped.
I made the bike lighter by removing the VIN number.
Yes. Unencumbered by insurance.
Yeah.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with this bike. There's 10 things wrong with this bike I can see in this picture.
Oh, I know.
If it's posted, it's available. First one comes with money. It's your title in hand. See less. All right. So
you have to leave a $500 deposit before you abandon it at the shop.
No, you would not. I do agree that 1, this is a particularly hardy motorcycle engine. 2, by 2009, the GSXR 750 was so refined by 2009 that even 25,000 miles of fuck knucklery couldn't hurt this bike. If it goes in a straight line, it's probably okay.
Yeah.
If it doesn't have a salvage title, even better.
When you see the stunt dudes, when I used to, go to the shows and be there, whatever.
Yeah.
These dudes would redline these bikes
Constantly.
for, years at a time before like something finally blew up. Like hours of
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the mating call on on Lorraine Road. Now it's just people don't toot their horn anymore. They just rev limiter.
Yeah.
So you're just like, you see a guy go down the street, he gives you a nod, he's like, and you're like, what the fuck was that? What did you just do?
Yeah.
Why did you why did you bounce it off the rev limiter to say howdy?
Yeah.
We have a horn, you can wave, right? No, instead it's hang. Nah, man, that's dumb shit.
It just reminded me of something. I was out on a ride today.
Yeah.
And I saw a guy redline a Dodge ProMaster van.
What?
Wait, it gets better.
What?
And then the fucking connecting rod came right through the oil pan.
Really?
I don't know what was going. I don't know what was going on, but this thing
Was it the
like,
Fiat ProMaster or the little ProMaster? Was the big one or the little one?
It must have been the little one. I didn't. I was on.
It doesn't matter, honestly.
Well, there was oil on the road. And
Well, of
connecting
course there
rods
was.
and shit. And
And he was doing the
yeah,
Section 8 howdy.
yeah, I don't know what the hell was going on.
my
I was like, that was pretty awesome.
Oh, that's violent. That is terrible.
What's that Poppy OS?
It's
That's like,
It's
do you know
just
anything about
abstract.
that?
It's just a
Are
Would
those
you like
good
to know?
bikes?
Oh god.
It's a TNT 135, but
Steve will tell you all
Yeah,
about it.
Steve's
Is it
ready.
any good or no?
it's
fired up.
fine. I want one really bad because of the dual headlights.
It looks like a little 900 SS.
It sure does. And Steve is so bike curious for this bike.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I have no need for it whatsoever. It
Yeah.
will sit next to my TNT.
But
135.
that's why I sent you that link, that new racetrack that's opened up in
yeah,
Lorraine,
that's
the
true.
new
Yeah,
go-kart
Lorraine.
track. If they
Yeah.
would allow bikes
Yeah.
when he gets that place up and
But
running.
the only thing this thing's missing, right, from the Benelli is the oil cooler. Like, this
Yeah.
is actually a down-spec bike compared to the Benelli.
And I just want the body work.
Right.
Tell me the body work.
What's a Benelli cost?
$29.99.
Is it still available?
Oh, yeah. I got a stack of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It looks the same, the Benelli.
They're
Or
different.
close to it.
Benellis are more sporty bikes. Yeah.
There's one listed.
I'm sure there is. Yeah, I'm sure there are. Yeah.
I want one. I'm just trying to find a need for it.
Where is it one?
Okay, go to the store. Go to the store and just rail around the.
This is the grown-up version of those little pit bikes they used to sell with
Yeah.
like the two-cycle motor.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Benelli at this point is the exact same price I once paid for a GT bicycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the exact same price I paid for a GT bicycle. And
And you'd recommend the Benelli over that?
I would absolutely.
Yeah,
I
okay.
can tell you based
All
on the
right.
experience at the shop.
Yeah.
And you can ride mine. You can take mine for a week.
We have seen our customers aggressively try to kill these bikes.
Really?
Yeah. I can promise you this, that a Benelli is tougher
Yeah.
than stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are tougher than stupid. God, we've had people try to kill these bikes, and
Oh,
they
this is
just
it.
I rode his
Oh,
like
I've seen this.
all day long, like 70 mile an hour
Yeah.
on the freaking highway.
the
The loudest, most obnoxious pipe built out of a helicopter pipe ever.
I changed it. It's back to stock, baby.
Yeah, stock works on those.
Yeah.
Yeah, stock works better on those bikes.
Yeah.
We've got one customer we have that's just made it his job to kill his Benelli through just ignorance.
Wow.
Through just not understanding how motorcycles work, but he decided he was going to be a stunter. So he decided he would buy a Benelli so he could just start throwing wheelies and stoppies and shit.
Yeah.
But he also has no stunt skills.
Yeah.
Like, he's not an adequate motorcycle rider.
Yeah.
So all he's done is break all 6 corners of it.
Oh.
So, like, when somebody scuffs the headlight, you're like, dude, you're trying too hard.
Yeah.
But he's replaced the tail light, the whole back end of the bike on numerous occasions. And that is, Liza's Benelli got treated as the town pump with knobbies on it at Mid-Ohio and just did hundreds of laps of the barrel races. And it's not supposed to be doing barrel races.
Is she caught Liza Benelli?
Liza Benelli.
I thought that was intentional. I thought when he said that.
Oh, that's the next sticker that's got. Before we go to Mid-Ohio, I can tell you what sticker I'm making.
You gotta get that now. Get online.
We got to get a Liza Benelli sticker.
I didn't want to make the joke because I thought it was already the joke.
Oh, no, that's brilliant.
Wow.
It was right there the whole time.
Pete, that was-
It was hovering. It was
Pete, you just
Somebody
nailed
grabbed
it.
this joke. It was,
Oh my God, that's
I'm
great.
taking the rest of the night off.
That's it. Okay, now we've done that.
You have to keep.
Okay, Mid-Ohio bike. Mid-Ohio bike, the ultimate Mid-Ohio bike. Okay, Pete's got his hand up. He's ready.
what is the criteria for this? Because I couldn't
Have you ever been to Mid-Ohio?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm not even going to say
So
it.
you know it's 90 million miles of walking,
Yeah.
but you might buy things.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're probably going to want to transport beverages.
Oh, I
You
see
may
what
need
you're
to bring a
saying.
bag of ice back
Okay,
to the
okay,
campsite.
okay.
And or
I thought it was like a race bike, but no,
no,
you're
this
talking
is
about like
pits.
around the. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
And you may have to go into Lexington for a Mexican dinner too.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, go ahead. Lay it on me, Pete.
No, I'm not even going to say it. You know what I'm saying.
I know what you're going to say. Fucking monkey.
Yeah, right.
Of course you are.
Fucking monkeys.
Fucking monkey.
I love monkeys.
God damn it.
You can't argue with
Would
that.
you like to touch my monkey?
Monkey.
Oh my God.
I
We
would,
know
I
he's
would
doing
put,
monkey.
I would put knobbies on the monkey for Mid-Ohio.
Yeah.
You know, you got wet grass, you got mud. You
Yeah,
might want to
yeah.
do the hill climb.
Well, didn't you do
wanna look
didn't
cool.
you do the ruckus one year?
Oh, I had the ruckus.
You had the ruckus one year with those chubby tires.
No, I think I had the stock tires on it.
No, but I meant like, yeah, the ruckus comes with chubby
yeah,
tires. Yeah.
it's-
How did that do in the mud?
it did all right.
Okay.
I barrel raced it. I didn't hill climb it. I didn't go over. I mean, I went over the not a ramp with it.
Okay. That's good.
I don't think it hit the ground that weekend.
Yeah, no, you were just everywhere though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I think
put 100 miles on
I
it.
did. Yep.
Okay. Chris, you got a Mid-Ohio masterpiece?
Well, I would kind of sponge off of Pete.
Yeah, fucking another monkey.
But I do a big ruckus.
Oh, a big ruckus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's okay. For anybody who doesn't know, right?
What's the?
I'm going to pull it up. It's called a Honda 250 Ruckus.
It's an office chair with wheels.
It's basically a Honda Reflex naked.
I think I would describe it best as being a Honda off-road inspired pickup truck. I mean, scooter. I mean, pickup truck.
You mean office chair?
Office chair. I mean, lazy boy. I mean, yeah.
It's Mid-Ohio.
It is Mid-Ohio, and you're
it's a
absolutely
great
right about
Mid-Ohio,
that.
buddy.
Yeah.
You getting pissy over there or what?
Getting pissy. You're getting pissy over there. Yeah. I think you're right because it has, one, it is very comfortable, right? So that's cool. You know, a comfortable bike is a big deal at Mid-Ohio. That's pretty rad.
And somebody will want to buy
Yeah,
it
I've
from
seen
me.
these.
Oh, now that's the problem, is you won't be able to go anywhere because the old men are going to be talking to you all the
Yeah,
time.
that is a problem. It is an old man magnet.
It is an old man magnet.
tell
You're
me
not going to be able to get...
Whispered in my ear.
Yeah. I believe they only came in red, silver, and white, or red, yellow, and white.
Yellow and like an orangish yellow.
Oh, yeah.
I've restored a yellow. I put a motor in a yellow one. I've restored an orangish
me-
one, but it might just be a faded yellow.
me, it
Like a school bus.
Yeah,
To me, it looks
look
like a
school
Moto
bus.
Compo
You
grew
gonna
up.
carry a 12-pack on that?
I like
Well, they
how
also
the-
have a fold-up backrest, which
Yeah,
is
that's what I was
hysterical.
about to say, yeah.
The fold-up backrest is actually pretty genius. I mean, you know, since you're going to be alone most of the time,
It's not like anybody else would
might as well be comfortable. The magic of the fold-up backrest, in my humble opinion, is it does turn this bike into somewhat of a pickup truck.
Yep.
And with
Because it's got a plastic rack on the back of it. It's
It
got
does.
mounting points.
So there's
like
bungee
it-
straps
yeah.
everywhere, and you also have the center section. So the middle area where there isn't a gas tank,
Yeah.
you can put a 2.4 beer in there. The area above the headlights is also a rack,
Yep.
right? So the area above the headlights is a rack. The area behind the seat is a rack.
Well, the area under
And it
the
has
seat,
crash bars
The area
and floorboards.
in front of the seat, right by your
Yep.
feet. The tank is right
That's the
there.
gas
'Cause That's
tank.
where the reflex
Yep,
is.
exactly.
But
Oh,
it's-
this is a
but it's
naked
very
reflex.
angular. Yeah.
Right. It's a naked
Yeah,
reflex.
there's not a whole lot of difference.
Right, with
I mean,
tubing added to
yeah.
it. Yeah. It's funny because I took one of these apart. I had a customer come in, had damaged one. I took it all apart, and I realized that all of the tubular parts, all the parts that you see that are tubular, are actually non-functional.
Yeah.
They're just aesthetic.
it's
They're
not
cosmetic.
not structural at all.
The bike itself, underneath it, is the same frame as a reflex.
Yep.
So a reflex can be made into this with the strategic use of tubes, and this can be made into a reflex by the addition of
chicks
plastic.
dig this bike.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you can haul
absolutely
at least a half
That's
dozen.
a girl burner all day long.
Maybe a full dozen pack of chickens all over that thing.
This motor, right? I don't
back
think
from the
I'm
farm and fleet
I don't think
down.
I'm going on a limb when I tell you that this motorcycle is probably the spirit. No, if the Honda Cub EZ is the spirit animal of Mid-Ohio, then this is the daddy. This is the daddy of the Honda Super Cub EZ.
Well, I'm probably going to take my 67 CT90 down there and try to offload it. So
again,
I'll ride that around
a
a little
CT90 is a brilliant choice for Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, Spirit.
You have to have the milk crate on the back of it.
Yep.
That says, "Thou shalt not steal."
Yes, the rider Jerry, thou shalt not steal in the back for sure. I've got, I think we got about 7-8 bikes that we're prepping for Mid-Ohio, just kind of getting them going.
We got a
flock.
We got a bunch of things.
We get a flock, and I'm putting milk crates on the back of every single one of them because they need to be functional. Yeah, they got to be functional. If we're gonna have people out on these things, they got to be functional.
My bike is a custom painted 1976 KE 100.
Yes,
Because it is two-stroke, which makes you fit in. You get to do the thing, and it is the best possible bike. And just by chance, I'm gonna have one there for sale.
And Sleepy,
Yeah,
where did this bike come from?
from Mid-Ohio.
Hey, that's right. It's going back to where it came from.
Yeah, but it came from Mid-Ohio as a $600 bike that I paid a jar of weed and something else for. and now it's going back as a $600 bike with a $2,200 paint job. and it's been polished and massaged and it works.
Yep.
Because why not, right?
Why not? And that's a prime example of a great bike you can get at Mid-Ohio, because normally people go, well, I'm going to get a bike for under $1,000. I won't have to walk around all weekend. You might get a bike for under $1,000 that looks beautiful.
Yeah, right.
That's a two-stroke.
Oh yeah, I've ridden this thing. I fell in love with it. It was great.
Yep. Good job. That's a good
What bike is that?
It's the 76 KE 100.
Oh, yeah.
In special brand new House of Sleepy, House of Color.
Because I don't know sports. But apparently it's the Buffalo Bills color.
is,
So
yeah.
if you're like a Buffalo's Bill fan, you're gonna fucking flip the hell out over
Right,
this thing.
and there will be people there from Buffalo, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's a cool bike, too. It's a cool bike. It's a cool looking bike. And you'll get your buyer there. You'll get your rate. You'll get your
I'm bringing
guy
a
there.
bunch.
Yep, that's good. That's good. Anyone else got the perfect Mid-Ohio bike?
You know, I was gonna steal your thunder.
Okay.
Because I know what you're gonna say.
You don't. I don't think you do. I don't think you do.
But I think you've got two of the most perfect bikes up until the point where you have to go off property.
Okay.
Those Coleman mini bikes, man, are the way to
The
go.
Coleman mini bikes are legitimately. You're right. You can't go off
You
property.
cannot go off the property.
I saw one plated yesterday.
Oh, you did?
I did. I said I was.
That's
They-
bold.
Yeah, no kidding.
That is bold.
Up until the point where you have to leave property on that thing,
Right.
there is nothing you can't do. There is nowhere you can't go, including into the pits, and there is nothing you can't drag back behind.
That's
because
the
it
other
literally
thing.
is a generator motor.
Yeah, okay. And you know what? If you got a friend who's just so dumb he can't ride a motorcycle, you give him the Coleman.
Pull the string. And
Do you know
go.
how to start a lawnmower? Good.
You're
Go
in.
ride. You're in.
There's
in.
nothing it can't do. You want to go off road? Perfect. Go.
Yep.
It's got the biggest balloon tires in the world. It'll ford a river. I mean, it's literally made to go packing and camping.
It's like a Rokon.
It is like
Exactly.
a Rokon.
Except for it's
like
not $7,000.
cheap Rokon.
And something else. Some old man is going to come flying up to you and go, "Look, I need a bike to ride around. Here's $700. I will take this thing out from under you right now." You're like, "All right, cool." What the hell?
Rokon aesthetics, Chinese craftsmanship, farm and fleet pricing.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
I'll take 4 of them.
Everything I know about that place, that's the perfect bike you could get no matter what, up until the gate.
What's yours, Dan? What's your Mid-Ohio special?
Probably a Suzuki Bergman 400.
You know what's even funnier? We have one of those.
We have one. They're not real good in the mud, though.
They're not real good in the mud.
Yeah, remember, we call Mid-Ohio Mud-Ohio for a
Well,
reason.
with knobby tires.
Oh, okay. All
We
right.
can make that happen in 2
Because
days.
under seat, you have enough room for 475 beverages and ice.
This is true.
That's
It is a cooler.
It is a fucking giant cooler on wheels.
Yep.
Anyone else got a Mid-Ohio special?
Oh, I have an interesting thing though.
Go ahead.
This will give you guys all a little bit of a fuzzy feeling.
Well, wait, can I give mine?
Yeah.
Fuck
I'm
it.
sorry. Yeah.
Fuck it. TW200.
Oh yeah.
I put a giant top case on the back of the TW200.
Yeah. Because it is like a giant mini bike.
I've ridden it back and forth to work for the last time.
So last year you told me I could ride it all I wanted at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah.
It didn't go to Mid-Ohio.
It's going this year. Dan, have at it. Go have fun. But you know what I can promise you of?
It's not coming back.
If it does, it'll be Dan's.
Yeah, probably. I've never met a more dialed in TW200, but I will not commute that bike back and forth to work 18 miles ever again. Here's a tip. You know, Pete says,
I was gonna say.
Pete says, I know everything there is to know about TW200s. There's nothing wrong with the TW200. I traveled around America on a TW200. Thousands of miles on a TW200. I rode one on the freeway for 12 miles. You can keep that shit.
Well, I'm not going on the freeway. I'm gonna say that I probably put 40,000 miles on TW200.
The other thing Pete knows is not to go on the interstate on a TW200.
Exactly.
My problem is I have places I need to be.
Okay.
You're in a hurry. We get it.
People rely on me to be at a certain point, a certain place, and a certain time. And sometimes I have to go on the freeway to make that shit happen. And also, I don't leave a lot of extra time in my budget for slogging around on the 35-mile-an-hour roads. I made the mistake of riding that thing on the fucking freeway the other day with a top case on the back. I got up to an indicated 75 miles an hour.
Well, you were ringing it out.
Oh, I was ringing it right the fuck out. I had a fresh tank of non-ethanol 90 in there because it has a carburetor because it's primitive. And even though it's a brand new bike, it still has a carburetor. I have experienced every manner of death wobble that you can get on a motorcycle since I was a child. The manner of death wobble that the TW200 gives you at 75 miles an hour is a very strange, unpredictable death wobble. It is not the traditional wobble, 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 wobble oscillation that you go, okay, step one, relax, don't affect the bars, let the front wheel gyroscope itself out. Nope, don't do that on a TW200. Don't try that. I'm recommending a very strong death grip. I'm recommending to make your body a rigid element of the machine. Take away the transitional nature of your front end. Go full rigid with it. Because it wasn't until I went full rigid with it that I killed the tank slapper. That tire, that giant flotation, silly fucking amphibious tire that's on the front of that goddamn thing, it does not like going straight at 75 miles an hour. If you're just swaying, if you're going over, you're doing stuff, you're on an edge, but don't ask it to center line, because when it center lines, there's a lot of rubber that's not balanced, just going places. The hub is real small, the tire is really big, and it's just kind of like, it reminds me of like flubber. Like flubber spinning around an axis at 70 miles an hour. And it didn't like it. It didn't like it one bit. And I got off the freeway and I was like, that was fucking stupid. I'm going to go check this thing out. So I checked it out. I leaned the bike on the side. I spun it. I don't know if you know this, but if you put your bike kind of on its side stand, it's just as good as a wheel balancing stand. It's every bit as good as a, no, it's not. But if you spin it 3 or 4 times and it doesn't always land at the same bottom, you know that your tire's not that far out of balance. You can self-balance a tire just with the bearings that are in it. Enough for government work. I expected that tire to be so far out of whack from the way it behaved. And no, it was perfect. The bike has 800 miles on it from the factory. It's Japanese craftsmanship. It's just not meant to go 75 miles an hour. Yeah. The problem is I am. And so as long as I'm meant to go 75 miles an hour, I can't own a bike that's not. And hence, the TW200 is going to be my Mid-Ohio bike. If it does its job correctly, it won't come home with me. I'll probably go home with Dan.
That's a great Mid-Ohio bike.
It
really is.
And I put a giant box on the back of it. So I put a GV mount on the back. I put a giant GV case on the back just for Mid-Ohio. And it has the LED light on the front. It's got the bash plate. It's got the sprocket upgrade. The guy who owned it before me did all the cool shit to it.
And then he probably went 75 and went, no.
Yeah. I mean, he put 800 miles on it, and he's an old fella, so, that's cool. But I don't know. I'm done. I've had it. It's enough. It's cool. There's other motorcycles I haven't owned yet. I don't need to have my third TW200 let me down. So, yeah, that's cool. Somebody will get it. Somebody will enjoy it. And if you're good, I'll throw in the GV box and the bracket and all that shit, too, because it's fine. But yeah, that's my Mid-Ohio bike. And I know it will do Mid-Ohio perfectly because that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to do Mid-Ohio. That's what that bike was engineered for. To go 30 miles an hour or less forever or more.
Through every
possible. Oh, what do you got there? Gravel? No problem. What do you got? Mud? No problem. What's that? Lava? Go for it. Yeah. I don't think that bike would stop. I just think it would just go right through it. But it would go through it in the most Basset Hound way possible, right? every time I watch these videos of guys like trying to MX a TW200, what the fuck, man?
I took mine out to Metal Arcs one time, and I did. I actually had it on the motocross course out there. Yeah.
How's that handle the doubles?
It didn't go well.
Really?
It didn't have enough power to jump anything. It didn't have enough suspension to like. It was just horrible on a motocross track.
Now I'm envisioning the Fluffy Mutts fan from Dumb and Dumber just going over a motocross
Yeah,
course.
Mud Cuts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mud
exactly.
Cuts.
Right, Mud Cuts van. That's exactly right. What was it? Was it the banana splits? Like, I just feel like the TW200 is the spirit motorcycle of the banana splits.
Because it's really the only it's like the last big wheel bike motorcycle that's street legal motorcycle
And just
out
because
there.
the people at home understand, it's not that I'm against big wheel bikes. I own a BW200 and I own a BW350. I own the Yamaha 350 4-stroke monster fucking BW.
Oh, yeah.
And I own the BW200.
And the only person I've seen ride that like a monster is Scotty.
Scotty just was like,
Good God.
Yeah, Scotty was just like, hey, Phil, can I go break your bike? Sure, Scotty, go ahead.
Yeah, back wheel the entire
Just
length of
drifting
a
the entire
football
time
field,
on a BW200. But the point being, the TW, because the BW350 and the BW200 are very clearly never intended to go on the street.
Yeah. Right.
They stayed in their lane and everything worked out great. However, the TW was like, fuck, we have to make it street legal. We have to make it streetable. And they just got to that point where they were like, shit. We have an XT220R in the shop, XT225R in the shop right now, which is essentially the same motor.
Yeah.
And it's going to be an infinitely better bike to ride at 60 miles an hour.
Zeros are great.
They're great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
It's a great
And it has
motorcycle.
electric start and all the good shit. Yeah, I'm in, man. I'm in. So that's cool. And I just got a I just picked up a Honda CRF 250F. Electric start, fuel injected trail bike.
Yeah.
And it's a $4,000 ultimate trail bike. Not a motocross bike, not a trials bike, not an enduro bike, a trail bike.
You come on the headlight, right?
Nope.
No.
This one's just fuel injected electric start.
Okay.
But you can buy a headlight for 79 cents.
Yeah.
The wiring's all there. You have to plug it in.
Just tap it really hard.
It's it. But anyway, the customer did a trade, and I was like, all right.
Yeah.
I've never had one of those. And it is the AK-47 of trail bikes.
Yeah.
It's the bike that everyone said for the past 4 years, shit, it's good enough to be considered to be a bad motocross bike, but it's also good enough to be considered the world's greatest trail bike. Mm-hmm. They said, if you're a 55-year-old guy who's mostly overweight and you want to start riding trail, I said, get out of my head, right?
What are you doing in my house?
What are you doing in my house? Right? And so I figured I'd grab one, take it out and ride it around in the dirt. I've been riding it up and down in Avon Lake. I've been riding it along the power lines because CEI's closed now. So I've been back in there digging around. And it's fantastic. It's not upside down shocks. It's traditional forks. The brakes are amazing. The suspension is exactly the perfect amount of Velveeta. So it's never harsh ever. You can't go fast enough to hurt yourself at all, but you can go fast enough to go, oh, I got that one. And it would be perfect for like John's property when we're digging through the woods and all that kind of crap. It's perfect for that. It's perfect for just kind of like, yeah. And I got bark busters on it and stuff, so I don't hurt myself too bad. So I'm not going to have another French trials bike incident. No more, never again.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep my testicles in my sack right where they belong.
And I appreciate your body fluids and pieces off me.
If that happens again, we're cooking it.
Yeah, that's fucking close.
So anybody got anything else?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, so since I've been riding the twisties a little bit more and stuff and get into it, I was like, I always felt more comfortable with some cowhide between me and the ground. So I was looking for a one-piece suit, and I was going around, and
Are you furry?
A what? No, racing.
Oh, that kind of suit. Okay.
What is your fursona?
So anyway, so my budget is very limited at the time because a lot going on with the house and stuff. So looking around for the thing, I found something that was very compatible. The dude, they listed his size, and it's basically equivalent to my size.
Okay, that's
so
nice.
I was like, okay, so that takes the equation of will this thing fit or not out of this thing.
Okay.
So I sent him a message, and I looked, and it was in Wisconsin, which, once again, like Facebook, I had it set to local, but I was like, wow, fuck. So I said, hey, dude, I'm like, you're asking a fair price.
Right.
But could you, for that price, could you ship it to Cleveland?
Okay. Fair.
And he was like, let me think. Yeah, I could probably do that. And then he came back. He's like, wait, you're from the ClevelandMoto podcast. I said, yeah.
Nice.
And he said, oh, man, I didn't know I was speaking to royalty. You guys rule. I've been listening to you guys for a while. And I was like, oh, man, we're just some guys talking. But it was really neat. And he's
it's
from Wisconsin.
very cool.
And he said, he's done track days in Wisconsin and Illinois. So then he became like this whole, like, this emporium of information about track days and stuff.
Good.
And so now I'm like completely.
And now you're jazzed.
Oh, I am.
Oh, that's
so, like,
cool.
So when I saw all this shit at Mid-Ohio, hopefully,
Right.
that's my goal. Is I want to get a track bike, and then just looked into it, and it's like, I don't know, it doesn't hurt to improve your riding skills.
Never.
Right.
Never.
So did you get free shipping or not?
Well, yeah, I got the suit. It's in my car actually. So the weird part is I haven't used PayPal in a long time, and even though I told PayPal to send it to my new address, it sent it to my old address.
Weird.
So I had to go all the way to Cleveland Heights and then pray that it was still on the doorstep, and it was. So I snagged it before I came here. It's actually
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just neat. Like, it was just neat to know that people actually listen.
Yep.
People from
and that
around
is,
the country.
Yeah, they do listen, and that's cool.
Yeah.
And so you got a set of cheapo leathers coming. That's great.
Yeah, they're in the car. I'm
What,
ready to
do
go.
you know what brand they are?
They're Cortex. They're decent.
Oh, they're decent. Yeah.
it's
I mean,
decent. It's a $600 suit.
Yeah, when we were starting up, a lot of the guys were buying, we used to call them Pakistani leathers.
Packy
Yeah.
leather.
Packy leathers.
No, I had one of those.
But they all smelled like urine because
Yeah,
they were.
I know.
That's how they tanned
That's
them.
how they tan it.
And so everybody would be like, "Hey, I got my new leathers," and you'd put them on, and it would be a slightly warm day, and you go out in the track, and you'd be like, "Whoa, man, woo!" And you're like, "No, dude, you peed yourself." I did not pee myself.
Nope.
You totally peed yourself. The problem was all the dye from the leather would come off on your skin,
Yeah.
so your arms would be purple and yellow and shit, and
yeah.
you'd smell like pee.
Somebody else already peed your pants before you got them.
Yeah. And so you didn't want to go to dinner with these guys if they had the new Packy leathers on. You're like, oh, that's a bad move, dude. Yeah.
But I watched. So I don't know, about a month and a half ago, it was like, almost 2 months, whatever. When the BMW got my life and I could have fun again on twisties, like I started to, do some research and stuff, and I found a couple videos of these guys showing the difference, and they were kind of bragging about a lot of the stuff that I've been wearing for a long time, which is all the adventure gear.
Right.
So, like, I have all whatever different companies, whatever, but it's always like the Cortex and all the different. You can name all the different name brands, but it's either some kind of a mesh, some kind of a thing made out of whatever, Kevlar and something, whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So then they show these dudes, and they had like this. They did it scientifically, where they had like a certain thing of sandpaper that was equivalent to like the highway. They can control the speed, and then they can control the pressure of bringing the stuff down.
Like a drum,
like a
rolling
drum, and
yeah.
then but more importantly, they could have the pressure of this thing coming down exactly the same every time.
Okay, right.
And so they put DE30 inside of it. They did all the things that you would do, right?
Yep.
And all the adventure gear lasted exactly like 0.8 seconds before, like, it doesn't matter like what, like how it was enough that you could probably hit the ground once or twice, roll,
Right.
And then if you hit it and slid for a long period, that shit melts and you're done. Mm-hmm. Then they did the same thing with leather, and the shit lasted like a minute. Like it was like really, it was like.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I need that. Like, I got to go back.
I
to
need
that.
that.
Like, that's what I want. Because it just takes a little bit of that anxiety of like when you start pushing yourself a little bit. And we're not being I'm not being dumb on the street. We're
Right.
just having fun, right?
Yeah.
We're not like out there
Just having
trying
a
to-
good time.
We're not trying to any personal records or anything. But at the same time, if you do push yourself a little bit and say you have a low side, that's the difference of going like, oh, that sucks, or fuck, now I got to go to the hospital. You know, so
Absolutely.
Well, I think the biggest thing with textile is the ability to hold the armor in place.
Yeah,
right.
that
And
too.
that's the only downside with textile,
Right.
because it cannot be tight enough.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see what Bison's doing with that full textile race suit, because I want to see because Alpine Stars has something really nice called Ride Knit. And if you look at their Fusion series, they're only putting leather in places that it's absolutely necessary for slide resistance. But then everything else, I would say probably 70% of the suit is made out of Ride Knit,
Right.
and it's designed to like just squeeze
That's what
everything
that's
right
what my
into place.
jacket that we were riding
Yeah.
on Sunday. That
Yeah.
one is all
Yeah.
riding it through here
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
side.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I'm curious,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the move. And
Yeah.
my problem has always been every time I've gotten off a bike, the leathers, that massive plate of CE armor or whatever
Yeah.
you're using is not where you need it to be.
Right.
Right.
When
that's
you
the
hit.
problem. Yeah.
And I've had some of my older suits, like when I got my CD suit, that CD suit is like Spider-Man. It is painted on my body.
Yeah.
And it is impossible to do anything in that bike in that suit except ride the bike.
Yeah.
And it takes me...
You can't stand up.
It takes me 6 or 7 minutes to get into it.
Yeah.
Right? Baby powder, the whole deal, to get into that suit. But once I'm in it, when I hit the ground on it, it's right where I need it to be. I got a set of comfortable leathers, right, for scooter racing, because with scooter racing, you're all over the fucking place. You're like a drunk monkey on the back of that bike. You need to, it's like being in a sidecar rig.
Right.
You need to move around. You cannot lock into the bike. You're not just going to have these 3 or 4 riding positions. You're just all over that fucking thing. So I tried it my CDs. I couldn't do it. The suit was holding me back. So I got a cheaper suit that had a lot more flexibility to it. I could move around a lot more in the suit. It was a lot more roomy. A lightly used suit, no big deal. Yeah, first time I get off on the bike, where's the fucking armor?
Yeah.
It is absolutely not where I needed it to be.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do I have a swell bow when I've got 70% of my arm is covered by armor, but yet when I smack the pavement, all that armor's not where it's supposed to be?
Well, that's what that made me look at all this stuff. I was looking at this jacket I've been wearing for 2 years with all this awesome armor on it. And I'm on the highway, and the jacket's going.
That's it.
And I'm like, when I go down, that's gonna be by my shoulder.
That's not going to be anywhere close to where I need it to be.
Right.
So absolutely, I agree. Moo cow lasts the longest as far as hitting the ground and going. Nothing beats moo cow, but having it also where you are, and with to that idea of having armor to your body that is essentially skin tight. And I like the undersuits now that we have all these pieces of armor that we can put on under a jacket. And that shit, I've got 2 of those I got one from Bone, and I got Bone or Bon, and I've got another one from Alpine Stars. When you put that thing on, it doesn't care what jacket you're wearing. You could wear no jacket, but everything is part of your body. And I absolutely love that, especially for hot days, because the wind's cutting right through it. That's great. And then you can wear whatever the hell you want on top. It's absolutely fine. That's, for me, when I'm going out and riding, where I'm like, today's the day I probably want to be a little, up my protection a little bit, I'll put one of those on. They're great. Absolutely love them. I have zero complaints. That kind of stuff, because it's right there with you. And different racetracks now have changed their rules regarding what constitutes rider protection on the track. As we're getting more inflatables, they're getting some really great technology with inflatables, getting really great technology, like you said, with RideNet. We're getting a lot of stuff that is not traditional.
Yeah, well, that's what now they have the thing where you can either have for novice, they just want you to come and ride. So you pretty much have to have a helmet and either one piece
helmet,
or
boots, and gloves.
No, they need 2-piece leather. They want exactly. And then now for intermediate and expert, you either have to have that back protector thing that goes on, or now they will accept the airbag. So
they should, and I'm glad about that, because that's one of the things that if I was to start doing that again, I would invest in the airbag.
Are you saying they weren't accepting airbags at that level?
No. They've been for the past 5 years. But the point is, now they're saying that back protector / airbags.
Or and you can have both, but you can have one or the other.
You get your choice, because for a long time when we were running, back protector was mandatory. Everybody's getting checked, right? And airbags, they do work a lot better.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Like I use an Alpine Stars back protector with a kidney belt, and it's almost like a backpack. And it has a chest protector. But then now they have the Tech Air 7. And the reason why I went that is because it also has a coccyx protector, that attaches to it. And you shove it in your gear. And so the Tech Air 7 does all of that.
It does everything.
Everything. Even the kidneys, like all of that. And I've seen a lot of stuff out there.
And the price of that's dropped in half. That stuff has come down a lot. It's gotten to the point where it's super affordable now.
Yeah, absolutely. As somebody who's broken both collarbones, broken my sternum, broken ribs, right? I've seen some other manufacturers come out with some stuff, and when I look at where the inflation is, I'm like, that's exactly the way my shoulder landed and why it led to a collarbone.
Why I ended up with a broken collarbone.
That's there now, right? You know, so I trust. You tend to trust these companies that are in it at that level. They understand it, you know.
And anything that we have that does that, that's the best thing in the world to help for, because my body now, I'm 55 years old. Chris was in the shop today, and I was talking about, like, man, I can't run across the street. My knees don't do that.
Right.
Right? I've got metal pins and rods and plates holding me together because of what? Because I want to go out and ride motorcycles.
Yeah.
Well, had we had the technology when I got in all my crashes, I'd probably be okay. You know, every crash I was in that put me in such a bad way, by today's standards, with today's safety equipment, I could have walked away from.
Oh, without a doubt.
I could have slid away from.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, it would have been a slide and get up and go home.
Yeah.
Hey, where's my bike? Right? You know, one of those deals. But instead, I'm busted up real bad, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, if I could go back in time and spend $1,200 on a better suit with some air in it, game on, brother.
Yeah, right on.
Game on. It's an interesting thing. So, if you're getting into it now,
I would definitely.
I personally, I would take that BMW and do the street school.
Yeah,
right off
street
the bat,
school. Right
on that
off the bat.
BMW, and make sure that, because I will tell you this, and I'm not trying to tell you something you don't know, but when you're out there and you think you're like, this is, it's really the most amazing thing you've ever experienced. And then somebody comes by you, like you're standing still, right? You're out there doing a try, and then you've got at that level, all around you, all of these things happening all of the time. You got to make sure that it's absolutely right. It's absolutely, before you go out and you spend the money on a track bike and you buy all this stuff.
Your street schools.
Not saying you don't. The street schools are phenomenal because it's faster than you're doing stuff with a bike that you've never done before if you've never done a track day before. Yeah. Right? It's absolutely incredible. You're leaned over. Oh, without a doubt. That BMW
I get
for sure.
that, but I don't want to. Here's the thing, though. Like, I'm not buying a bike. Like, just like, well, I'm going out and buy a bike.
Yeah.
But, like, I figured I'd do like one or two things, but I don't want to beat the shit out of that bike.
You won't.
Doing track day.
No, you won't. I'll take my bike out.
Yeah.
All the
You
money
won't.
I've
What I'm
invested
saying
in
is-
mine for sure.
No, but what I'm saying is like for once in my life, I think I'm not going to rush any. Like, I have no goal of fucking being like, well, I want to get to this level.
Yeah.
I just want to do it and enjoy it. Like,
Yeah.
I want the feeling of like kind of what we do on Sundays,
Right.
but like without the like, well, I can push that extra 20 miles an hour because there's nothing to hit if I go off the road. It's just, I'm going to hurt, but I'm not going to slam into a tree or a guardrail or something like that. And also, you don't have cars pulling out of driveways or anything like that, when you're trying to hammer. So,
If you took your BMW, set up your suspension for your body weight, did everything, sag, measured all of the stuff, preload, rebound, whatever, I don't know how many adjustments you have,
Not many.
but you got them all dialed in, right? Even if you had to buy emulators or something for that, whatever, and did a couple street schools on that bike, you would take that bike then out to your favorite country roads and stuff like that, and you would be that much better.
No, I know, yeah,
right?
100%.
Like an expert on that bike.
Right.
Like, there is something to be said. It's nice to have a collection of bikes, but there is something to be said. There's these guys on YouTube that are like the one bike movement, and they literally have a bike that they tour on, that they track day on, that they change the tires on and go off-roading on. It's crazy, right? All the stuff they do on one bike, and they're out there and they're having a blast doing track days, and they're fast. They're extremely fast. You know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if I had your bike, if I had that BMW, there's
without a doubt.
absolutely no doubt in my mind.
Oh, no,
But I mean, that bike's used. An iteration of that bike is used at the British Superbike level on the F900 Cup.
Yeah.
No, I know, I
Right?
get it. But I'm just saying, like, I'm enjoying it also as just a real, just nice motorcycle.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
But I don't want to fuck. Like, I know that I won't ride as hard as I could eventually on that bike.
Right.
Because I want to fuck it up.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I won't go to a school and a couple track days like the novice class track, because you're not going to kill you. You're not going to push yourself.
Merritt's nice bike. When we got that fuel injected SV, we never had the intention of like, hey baby, we're gonna fuck this one up, because the other SV we fucked up. Like, don't get me wrong, that was all AirTech. That was a track bitch from the day we bought it. There was no title ever on that machine. But Merritt's silver bike, that was a really nice bike. Like, that came to us with 3,000 miles on it, fuel injected. Chef's kiss, perfect SV. And Merritt was like, I really don't want to put this thing on the track. I really don't want to put this on the track. And I'm like, honey, you're going to put less stress on it on the track than you are.
That's very true.
In street driving.
Yeah.
Because in
Absolutely.
the track, we're all going the same direction. In the track, everything's nice transitions. Everything's soft. We're using the suspension the way we're supposed to, as opposed to hitting a 6-inch pothole.
Yeah.
Right? There are no 6-inch potholes on the racetrack. Nelson's Ledge just got paved over. We're good.
Yeah.
But she went out and she was very surprised how smooth the track is, and that it doesn't put a lot of stress on the bike.
No, I get that. But
And
you're still gonna if you're if you get into like me, if I get into something, I'm going to push myself, and I just don't want to throw that bike into the fucking ground.
Oh, you won't. I'm going to tell you that is asymmetric. Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy that says at our age, but you don't want to be crashing too much regardless.
No, of course not.
I mean, realistically, don't go out there with the bike's like, I don't care if I toss this down the road, because unless you're doing yoga 24 hours a day,
of course
tossing yourself down the road hurts.
I have no intention of doing it, but what I'm saying though is that like if you're listening to an instructor, you're doing whatever, and you're running, like. You're gonna start pushing yourself, and at some point, you're gonna like if you're gonna.
Oh, if I fall off a Yamaha Zuma today at 36 miles an hour at Mid Ohio, it's a life-changing event.
If I trip down the stairs, it's a life-changing
event.
Dude,
I'm like,
I'm surprised how many times I've gone over the bars and it wasn't a lifetime.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Lucky,
There's resilience too.
Remember Oscar 2 years ago? He launched himself.
Remember me last year? 6 months ago?
Right. Yeah. That's one of those things. You're like, if I went out, like the last time when I went a couple of years ago, I went and grabbed a bunch of track days because MIC was sponsoring a lot of stuff. Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to go out and run. Yeah. And I was like, I got all kinds of bikes I'd like to put on the track. And I'm putting Moto Guzzi's on the track that are one of 500 built. Okay, you're worried about fucking up your 900, your bike. They made a lot of those. I got a bike they made 500 of on the planet, and I'm out on the track with it. Yeah. Why? Because I'm not going to fuck that bike up.
Yeah, I mean, some of those fast track instructors have laid out R1s, have Panigale V4Rs, right? They're laid out, but they never get into. They love riding them. Yeah. They're obviously good. They're instructors. You know, but they never ride at that level.
And I was never at any point.
And they're not putting themselves in those positions.
Yeah, even at Mid Ohio, 6, 7, 8, Insanity kind of thing.
Yeah.
Even there, which is a place where historically in my past I've been pushing things too hard and put myself in a bad position and could have and did low-sided bike there more than once. Now, as an adult, well, no, there's no red mist.
Yeah.
You know, there's just no red mist. I'm there to ride.
Yeah.
And the idea is, first goal, make it to lunchtime.
Yeah.
Okay, well, lunch is here. We had a great lunch. That's cool. Fantastic. Now to go out. Okay, now what's my goal? Well, now my goal is to just kind of use the track better, right? Use the track better, become smoother. That's the whole thing. And at no point in these outings, when I used to go out, I'd be like, there's a 30% chance when we come home tonight, one of us is going to be disabled.
Yeah.
When Merritt and I would race together. And you know what? There's a 30% chance one of us is driving all the way home from St. Louis because the other one's got a broken whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were 25 years old.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just saying, like, you got to keep that in mind that something could happen.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, like, eventually, if you say, wow, I really like this. This is cool. I feel like I'm advancing.
Right.
Then a $3,000, because there's plenty of them out there.
Oh, yeah.
$3,000 with tire warmers, 2 sets of fucking rims, a motor kissed last year with 2 hours on it, with the same shit, the Fiber Tech, no lights, no title. Yeah. Like
no problem.
Yeah.
No, I believe me.
No
that
key, start, push button.
My first SV race bike was the decision when I was going from a 4-cylinder. I wanted to just settle things down. So I wanted to get. I was having all my friends were running SVs, and I was like, can I take that out for practice? Sure, man, go ahead. I went out and rode it. I was like, this is way more fun than my 600. This is way more fun than my inline 4-cylinder. Turns out torque is more enjoyable. And I was enjoying it more. I was having more fun with the 650 V-twin than I was with the inline 4-cylinder. It was more enjoyable. I wasn't going faster than anybody else. I was having more personal fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is more fun. And the guys that I'm hanging out with are also guys that are less into the idea of, I'm going to beat you.
Right.
There was less aggression. Yeah. And so since there was less aggression with the SVs, then it was more of a family thing. It was more fun. Right. And so we're out there to help each other. And actually, I got way more fun out of it on the SV than I did on the inline 4-cylinder.
My whole intention of this is like playing chess with myself. I just want to get better at the line. Even running those go-karts last week at Pitt, since we had so much time on them, like you could start to run and then you start to go. I didn't care about anybody else on the track. I would just come to the one turn and be like, I fucked it up last lap. Let's get the turn right.
You're going to lose so much weight.
Oh, yeah. You work your ass off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The first time you go out and you haven't been out for a while, the first time you go out and you're like, oh, fuck. Because all those things that you don't use often, they all hurt. And I did that. I exercised for 2 or 3 weeks before my last track day last year. And I went out and I was like, God damn, I hurt my body. Every bit of my body hurt. Did not feel good. Absolutely did not feel good. But then I was like, well, I'm going to go at it again. You know? And so I gotta do more push-ups, you know? I gotta do more stretching. It's fun. That's cool.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So,
And on that note.
Yep. On that note, remember to ride fast and take chances. Play us out of here, Johnny.
Bum, 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 bum,
Eject, get us out of here, Sleepy.